Lepo pozdravljeni na našem drugem dnevu konference Circular Change. Lepo prosim, če se kar posedete, da bomo lahko z dogodkom tudi uradno začeli. Evo. Še enkrat, najlepši pozdrav vsem, ki ste se v takem velikem številu odzvali našemu dvodnevnemu potovanju skozi krožno zgodbo. In dobrodošli v mestu Maribor, ki nas gosti danes po prvem dnevu, ki smo ga doživljali v Ljubljani. Od tukaj naprej se bom premaknila v angleški jezik, zato ker je konferenca mednarodna in nam je vsem skupaj lažje, če se razumemo v jeziku, ki ga praviloma govorimo vsi. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's a special privilege to have you here in Maribor today in such a big number. Yesterday, we started our circular journey in Ljubljana with the second International Circular Change Conference. So Maribor is hosting our second day, and by the experience and lessons learned yesterday in Ljubljana, we can already say that we are really doing a great job all together, and the transition towards circular economy is becoming not only a nice story, but a reality. So allow me to express my particularly warm welcome and greetings to some of you. First of all, Minister of Environment and Spatial Planning, Ms. IRENA MAJCEN, welcome. Then a warm welcome to Mr. TADEJ SLAPNIK, State Secretary at the Office of Prime Minister and the Head of Partnership for a Green Economy. Thank you today for being with us today as well. So let's move on to His Excellency Mr. PAOLO TRICHILO, the Ambassador of Italy, who is with us as well. And special thanks to the Mayor of the City of Maribor, Mr. ANDREJ FIŠTRAVEC. The conference as such is held under the honorary sponsorship of our Prime Minister, Miro Cerar, who is going to join us this afternoon. So thanks to him as well for supporting us and for making this event happen. So warm welcome to all speakers and sponsors as well. Yesterday, when we started our journey in the technical part, so in Ljubljana, we realized what we have achieved together, so that we have actually more than 500 participants joining us in these 2 days. May I just ask you for help with the technical? This is digitalization and circular economy. You see, we can use some stuff here, but it's better to count on ourselves as humans. So maybe it will start working, maybe not, we will see. Anyway, so we have more than 500 participants that came to Slovenia, and we have more than 30 international circular economy change makers among the speakers. So this is a great achievement, and to have all that here in these 2 days, it's really something what we can all be proud of. So, I would like to extend special thanks also to those partners that are traveling with us on this journey in the last 2 years, I would say, and particularly supporting us with this event. Italian Embassy, Dutch Embassy, Italian Trade Agency, MCM Slovenia, and both circular cities, Maribor and Ljubljana. This is a great example of that, what can be achieved when different stakeholders are working hand in hand, and we are very thankful also to the Slovenian government and to the Partnership for a Green Economy for making this relation between business and the government something what works so well. So thank you once again, and one big applause for this collaboration. This is an insight from yesterday. As I said, we started in Ljubljana, and it was very vivid and very fruitful, not only on the stage, but also behind the scenes, to say so, around the tables, a lot of networking. So there we've got also 2 sponsors that presented themselves already in Ljubljana, and now they're with us here today. So this is Pošta Slovenia and Sava Insurance Company, and all other partners who are really with with us on this journey. So if I would have to stress what happened in these 2 years of our presence on the market, to say so, or in this environment, while we are exploring the field of circular economy, very important was last year, the conference that was held in Ljubljana, and the title was Embracing the Circular Change. At that time, we introduced the topic, and we talk more about what circular economy is about. This year, we dare to have a different title. This is Walking the Talk, Enabling the Circular Transformation, because we believe that now we are at the point where we have examples that we can show proudly, not only to Slovenia and region, but to the world. So there is a lot to come next year. And this journey from Ljubljana to Davos, to say so, was really an exciting journey. And as I said, last year, on May 7th, we launched the platform at the conference, at the first conference, Circular Change. And in the meantime, we established great partnerships. As already mentioned, with a partnership for a green economy here in Slovenia. Then we supported the Circular Awards from World Economic Forum in Davos. We have representatives here, and we are very proud that 11 Slovenian companies were presented within this competition. So they were shown as a global cases, and this is a nice achievement. So then we were present also in Brussels, where the Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform was introduced, and we were invited to be speakers there as well. And on the whole journey, we are presenting Slovenia as the leading country, as the country with the potential to show that we can be the leaders of circular economy in the region. And at World Economic Forum, we also got the invitation, and today is with us Attila Turos, who will join us with his speech at the afternoon, and will give this invitation to all of us, to the government, to the business, to communities, to cities, to citizens as well, to perform as leaders in the region for the transition towards circular economy. And I think that this journey shows what we can do if we do connect the right dots, if we do know how to collaborate. So, as our Prime Minister, the honor sponsor of the conference, said, transition towards the circular economy is a civilization norm. So having this in mind is very important, because it's not just about how to save the world, it is about how to save us, the civilization. So the human race will survive if we change immediately. The first day of the program, yesterday, was devoted more to mastering this new competitiveness playground. We talk about the playground because it is not about who is going to win and who is going to lose. It is about how we do cooperate to play, to innovate, to experiment, to lose sometimes, to fail, and then to wake up and find new innovative solutions. On the second day, today here, we will go more deep into the systemic change with our great distinguished speaker, Mr. JANEZ POTOČNIK, former commissioner, who will share his not only experiences, but really a treasure of knowledge with us, how this systemic change can happen. Then we will focus also on very important financial sector, how to use these instruments, how to change in a way to manage risk, to support those ideas that are worth supporting in a new collaborative way. And I'm sure that from here on, we will know much more about that, what circular economy can bring to each of us. Yesterday, as I said, it was a very fruitful day, and there are some findings that I would like to share with you. One was that we do understand what collaboration means. So in circular economy, the collaboration is really based on different models, on different partnerships than it used to be. And we established some of them yesterday as well. The other thing is that circular economy is about innovation. And without changing things in an innovative way, not to repeat what we did so far, is essential if we want to do this transition. And the third thing is that this is about systemic change. So if we do not connect all the dots, if we do not change things on all different levels, legislation, the governance, the business models, we cannot do the shift. And I would like to conclude this as I did yesterday. Because when I was thinking about this conference, about what is happening, it is very personal in a way for me as well, because it would not happen without you who do trust us, who are willing to share everything, your knowledge, your expertise. And I think that circular economy and this collaboration is led by leaders who follow their heart and trust their intuition. So this creates the playground for synchronicity. Thank you very much. And from here on, I would like to open the conference the second day and invite our minister to join me, Ms. MAJCEN, on the stage. Thank you very much.
Lepo pozdravljeni, spoštovane gospe, spoštovani gospodje. Čast mi je, da vas lahko nagovorim na današnji mednarodni konferenci na temo krožnega gospodarstva, ki je kot partnerstvo za zeleno gospodarstvo organizirano skupaj s platformo Circular Change. Krožno gospodarstvo je danes tema, ki je danes prisotna na marsikaterem omizju, dogodku ali konferenci. Zakaj? Če želimo ohraniti konkurenčnost gospodarstva in kakovost življenja, nam prehod v krožno gospodarstvo predstavlja okoljsko in ekonomsko nujo. Gospodarska rast je v preteklosti temeljila na izkoriščanju naravnih virov, pri čemer se je pogosto zdelo, da so zaloge surovin neomejene, kar je pripeljalo do krize surovin. Danes se zato išče drugačne gospodarske modele, družbeno odgovorne ter okolju prijazne modele, ki omogočajo blaginjo. Tega se seveda zavedamo na Ministrstvu za okolje in prostor. Zeleno in krožno gospodarstvo vidimo kot priložnost za rast in krepitev mednarodne konkurenčnosti, kot tudi za znižanje okoljskih tveganj, kar je nujno za zagotavljanje trajnostnega razvoja. Verjamemo, da obstaja soglasje o nujnosti spremembe gospodarskega sistema, tako v Sloveniji kot tudi v Evropski uniji. Zavedamo se, da je sicer naš interes za uveljavitev in spodbujanje krožnega gospodarstva v prvi vrsti okoljski. Krožno gospodarstvo je model, ki omogoča sistematično zmanjševanje vpliva človeka na okolje. Nedvomno pa se ta model skupaj s koristmi, ki jih prinaša, lahko dobro povezuje s poslovnimi priložnostmi, ki jih prinaša bolj trajnostno gospodarstvo. Z namenom spodbujanja aktivnosti tudi v gospodarstvu smo krožno gospodarstvo uvrstili kot eno izmed prioritet strategije pametne specializacije, kot tudi nekatere ukrepe in instrumente, ki izhajajo iz sprejetega operativnega programa Evropske kohezijske politike 2014-2020. Z veseljem lahko povem, da je bilo Ministrstvo za okolje in prostor nosilec priprave okvirnega programa za prehod v zeleno gospodarstvo. Gre za medsektorski dokument, ki je povezal skoraj vse vladne resorje, da išče sinergije pri prehodu v zeleno gospodarstvo. Vzpostavljena je bila tudi medresorska delovna skupina Partnerstvo za zeleno gospodarstvo, ki se zdaj pod okriljem in uspešnim vodenjem kabineta predsednika vlade razširja v partnerstvo vseh deležnikov v državi. Naj omenim, da naše ministrstvo posveča veliko pozornosti izmenjavi izkušenj, dobrih praks in prenosu znanja na področju krožnega gospodarstva. Krepimo aktivnosti promocije in ozaveščanja tudi z namenom krepitve znanja vladnih resorjev in usposobljenosti za prehod v krožno gospodarstvo. Naš namen je ustvariti dolgotrajna, uspešna partnerstva za doseganje sprememb ter tako oblikovati boljši model ustvarjanja politik in ukrepov za spremembe. Tem vsebinam in aktivnostim smo namenili kar nekaj posvetov in delavnic in veseli me, da se iniciativa prehoda v zeleno in bolj trajnostno gospodarstvo pojavlja danes že skoraj povsod. To potrjuje, da smo na pravi poti. Želela bi še poudariti, da imajo izjemno pomembno vlogo pri prehodu v krožno gospodarstvo mesta. Saj predstavljajo podporo svojemu zaledju, se povezujejo v partnerstva na različnih ravneh in so obenem tudi centri kulture, izobraževanja ter inovacij, kot tudi nosilci razvoja regij. Zato danes ne preseneča, da je z nami župan mestne občine Maribor. Lepo pozdravljeni. Seveda sem se srečala z nekaterimi drugimi župani in prav gotovo so lokalne skupnosti tiste, ki bodo lahko ideje širile tudi v svojem lokalnem okolju. Nekatera slovenska mesta so že sprejela ukrepe in izvajajo aktivnosti za prehod v zeleno gospodarstvo in krožne oblike gospodarjanja. Prav tako se vedno več novih investicij usmerja s ciljem zelenega in krožnega gospodarstva. Naj zaključim. Izzivi, s katerimi se srečujemo danes, so lahko tudi odlične priložnosti in izjemne zgodbe o uspehu. Kar nekaj primerov dobre prakse to že dokazuje. Ponosni smo, da je tudi mesto Maribor postalo krožno mesto in da danes ravno tukaj nadaljujemo dobre zgodbe. Vsekakor nas vse skupaj čaka še veliko dela, vendar verjamem, da bomo kos tem izzivom. Ob koncu vsem skupaj želim veliko kroženja na današnjem dogodku, veliko izmenjave znanj in izkušenj, predvsem pa uspešno delo.
Najlepša hvala, gospe ministrici Majcenovi, za te lepe besede. Thank you very much for this nice invitation to gather and to network. And now I would like to invite our host, the mayor of City of Maribor. Yes, please, Mr. ANDREJ FIŠTRAVEC, join us and share your circular story with us. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I will speak also in Slovene language, but I think it will be no problem in understanding because we have such possibilities. Yesterday I said that one day you were, or someone from you, in the most beautiful city of the world, and now you are in the most beautiful city of Slovenia. Dragi in spoštovani, Evropa in evropsko gospodarstvo počasi izhajata iz največje krize zadnjih desetletij. Zato so bila logična razmišljanja o vzrokih le-teh. Sam se pridružujem mnenju tistih, ki menijo, da je treba na to krizo gledati predvsem iz zornega kota krize zavesti. Torej sposobnosti, kako organizirati družbeno reprodukcijo, da le-ta ne bo povratno vplivala na družbo s pojavljanjem novih krčev in novih kriz. Koncept krožnega gospodarstva, ki je v tem času nastal in kjer smo imeli Slovenci po zaslugi našega evropskega komisarja pomemben delež, je odgovor na drugačen pristop k celotni družbeni reprodukciji. To je pristop, ki se zaveda omejenosti naravnih virov in nujnosti takšnega gospodarjenja z njimi, ki omogočajo vedno znova in vedno novo uporabo le-teh. Mestna občina Maribor izvaja strateški projekt Recycle na področju krožnega gospodarstva, v katerega so vključena javna komunalna podjetja mesta. To so podjetja Energetika, Snaga, Nigrad, Vodovod in Marprom. V okviru tega projekta smo skupaj s podjetji identificirali 18 skupnih projektov, ki jih bodo podjetja v medsebojnem sodelovanju v prihodnjih letih tudi realizirala. Mestna občina Maribor je od leta 2015 vsako leto sprejela strateški dokument na področju, ki ga projekt Recycle pokriva. 2015 strategijo ravnanja z odpadki, kjer je sistem krožnega gospodarstva prvič konkretno omenjen. 2016 trajnostno urbano strategijo, kjer je projekt Recycle že opredeljen kot eden od ključnih razvojnih projektov mesta. 2017 pa še izvedbeni načrt trajnostne urbane strategije, kjer pa so navedene tudi predvidene investicije, kot tudi časovnica za njihovo realizacijo. Za boljšo pripravo in koordinacijo izvajanja vseh potrebnih aktivnosti so podjetja ustanovila inštitut Recycle, ki bo skrbel za ustrezno koordinacijo med svojimi ustanovitelji ter pripravo skupnih projektov. Snaga je ustanovila podjetje Upcycle, ki se bo primarno ukvarjalo s tehnološko opremo, potrebno za izvedbo skupnih projektov. V mestu smo identificirali tudi degradirana območja, na katerih bomo izvajali aktivnosti v okviru zastavljenih projektov in tako pripomogli k revitalizaciji teh površin. Ustanovitev obeh organizacij, inštituta Recycle in podjetja Upcycle, je korak v pravo smer. Podjetja so prišla do točke, ko je potrebno za identifikacijo in razvoj projektov uporabiti nov pristop, ki bo lahko povezoval na določenih področjih interese več podjetij. Skozi sinergije izvedbe projektov bomo tako zagotavljali optimalno izrabo vseh osnovnih virov v mestu, krajšali materialne poti in oblikovali nove produkte, tako pa tudi ustvarili nova trajna zelena delovna mesta. Maribor kot regijsko središče prevzema vodilno vlogo na področju krožnega gospodarstva, da svojim zgledom vodi izvajanje tega strateškega projekta in da oblikuje partnerstvo v urbani regiji za doseganje sinergij za vse prebivalce. Imamo priložnost, da oblikujemo model za prihodnost, ki bo trajnostno naravnan in da prihajajočim generacijam predamo regijo v boljšem stanju, kot je danes. Vkolikor pa želimo izvajati strategije razvoja mest, kot nam jih predpisuje Evropska unija v tekoči koheziji, bo potrebno zagotoviti kontinuiteto dostopa do finančnih instrumentov za izvajanje teh strategij. Tukaj je potrebno poudariti, da v sedanji finančni situaciji z vidika mest in občin je to podfinanciranje strani države. Mestne občine nismo v stanju prevzeti vsega bremena razvoja mest in funkcionalnih regij mest, prav tako pa sredstvi, ki jih dobimo skozi mehanizme financiranja razvoja mest, nikakor ne pokrijemo potreb, ki smo jih strategijami identificirali. Za doseganje ciljev je potrebno zagotoviti kontinuirano izvajanje identificiranih projektov v mestih in regiji, saj bodo le tako doseženi želeni učinki, še posebej tam, kjer se projekti navezujejo na celoto. Vesel sem, da smo tik pred zaseditvijo prve lopate za izgradnjo tehnološko najnaprednejšega objekta za predelavo in sortiranje mešanih komunalnih odpadkov v Evropski uniji, ki je istočasno tudi cenovno najugodnejša v primerjavi z industrijo predelave in sortiranje mešanih komunalnih odpadkov v Sloveniji. Na ta način v Mariboru začenjamo udejanjati koncept krožnega gospodarstva na način, da smo pri tem vodilno mesto in ne, kar je sicer tudi pozitivno, samo sleditelj. Zavedamo se izzivov, ki so povezani s pionirstvom. Zato želim, da smo v očeh drugih videni kot pozitivni pilotni projekt, ki bo v naslednjih letih koristil tudi drugim lokalnim skupnostim v Sloveniji. Konferenci želim uspešno delo in se veselim današnjega srečanja in prihodnih skupnih korakov, ki jih bomo naredili v dobro nas vseh. Hvala lepa.
Najlepša hvala gospodu županu za te besede, spodbudne, kakšno vlogo lahko predstavljamo v regiji. So now we'll continue with our another guest and supporter as well, His Excellency Paolo TRICHILO from Italy, so Italian ambassador, our neighboring country, supporting circular economy as well, and we can really count on this collaboration in the future as well. Thank you.
Spoštovani gospe in gospodje, cenjeni gosti, dragi prijatelji, dober dan in lep pozdrav. I will continue in English anyway. First of all, to express my respects to the Slovenian authorities that are present today, Minister for Environment, State Secretary at the Prime Minister's Office, Mayor of Maribor, former European Commissioner. I'm very excited to be in beautiful city of Maribor today, and I also would like to express my congratulations to the organizers for this important event, Ladeja, of course, but also the Italian trade agency in Ljubljana for the great contribution they have given, and also I would like to mention the very important contribution of performing Italian companies in the proceedings of this important conference. If you allow me, I will continue reading my intervention because, as you will see, or rather you will listen, I will mention a number of statistics and numbers in order to walk the talk. More than 40 years ago, the Club of Rome drew the global attention to the issue of economic and population growth within the framework of limited supply of world resources. Circular economy is one of the main responses to the need to cope with such a question. Transition to circular economy needs a clear choice, strong commitment towards a common goal. And it needs also shared targets, specific measures, monitoring and fine-tuning tools. We are looking at an integrated approach affecting the entire value chain and engaging all relevant players, from extraction of raw materials to design of final products, from distribution to consumption, revamping and reuse. An evolution beyond linear economy can be conceived only and if the new model will be able to produce a positive impact on competitiveness, growth and employment. In this framework, I welcome the EU Circular Economy Package with its legislative measures and action plan. Italy, with its manufacturing vocation and scarcity of raw materials, developed a strong experience in industrial recycling. This was made possible also thanks to an important reform entered into force 20 years ago. Today, Italy is at the top places in Europe for diversified and consolidated practices in circular economy. We reduced the disposal of waste through landfill by nearly 2/3, from 21.3 million tons in 1997, 80%, to 7.8 million tons in 2017, 26%. Also, in these 20 years, we increased the separate collection of urban waste from 9% to 47.6%, with impressive results achieved in packaging waste, the recycling of which rose from 33 to 78, 5% already in 2015. Italy holds 12% of the total number of green patents developed in Europe related to the waste sector, second only to Germany. In economic terms, our green revolution brought growth for companies, employment and turnover. From 2008 up to now, the number of economic operators engaged in waste recycling increased by 10% to 6,000 units, employing 155,000 workers, plus 13% compared to 2008, for a total turnover of more than 50 billion euros. At present, our recycled waste is not enough to feed the sector. That is why we have a leadership in Europe with 5.9 million tons of waste imported for reuse. The latest available data on the evolution of secondary raw materials production through waste recycling technologies in Italy show that in 2015 we recorded a 5% increase in the recovery of paper, glass, plastic, wood, aluminium and steel packaging materials and a 67% share of input in consumption. The Italian biogas sector in agriculture annually transforms 20 million tons of animal byproducts and waste into renewable electricity, covering the needs of 6 million people. As a whole, the sector, which has more than 1,500 plants on the national territory, produces 9.37 terawatts of electricity each year. Plans are underway to boost the potential of about 8.5 billion cubic meters by 2030, a figure that corresponds to 15% of the annual Italian natural gas demand. I believe that ever better results can be achieved through adequate and inclusive supporting instruments developed and implemented at national and European level in coming years. Cooperation on the ground is important, and this is why we are supporting in the framework of the program Interreg Italy-Slovenia projects dedicated to circular change in specific sectors such as plastic, milk, dairy chains, training and tourism that hopefully will be positively evaluated. I'm proud that some of our best practices that there have been presented today in Ljubljana and will be presented today in Maribor. One of them is well known in Slovenia. I'm talking about Aquafil, a world-leading manufacturer of nylon with a presence in 8 countries on 3 continents with 16 plants employing more than 2,700 people. Favini is another worldwide leader in the design and production of textures and finishing solutions for eco-leather and paper for fashion, luxury, design, IT and technical sportswear and stationery. Intesa Sanpaolo is the first international financing operator to become global partner of Ellen MacArthur Foundation with the aim of involving potential investors on circular economy projects. I'm also pleased about the media partnership established by the organizer, Giacomilli Media, with the Materia Rinnovabile, Renewable Matter, an international magazine on bio and circular economy. Finally, Enjoy Italy provided a demonstration of excellence and sustainability in agri-food through the catering served yesterday at Ljubljana Castle. I thank you very much for your attention. Hvala lepa.
Thank you, Mr. TRICHILO, for this. You can see and experience what collaboration means, how many good practices are coming here from Italy as well. So from here on, I would like to invite another speaker. So this is our State Secretary, TADEJ SLAPNIK. Please join me. And in the meantime, special thanks also to another State Secretary, Matjaž Franc Tičo Zupančič, who is with us already 2 days, what just proves how active and engaged our government is. So thank you both for being with us.
Hvala lepa, Ladeja. Spoštovani gospodje, spoštovane dame, udeleženci konference, zelo me veseli, da vas lahko danes nagovorim na mednarodni konferenci o krožnem gospodarstvu, ki jo organizira Partnerstvo za zeleno gospodarstvo v sodelovanju z platformo Circular Change. Dovolite mi, da tudi na tem mestu izrazim veliko zahvalo celotni ekipe Circular Change platforme, Ladeji, Košir, Godina, z ekipo. En aplavz, prosim, za res čudovito delo, ki ga opravljajo v Republiki Sloveniji in tudi širše na področju krožnih sprememb. Vlada Republike Slovenije se je leta 2015 s sprejemom okvirnega programa prehoda v zeleno gospodarstvo zavezala, da je prehod v zeleno gospodarstvo njen strateški cilj, ki je nujen tako za ohranjanje konkurenčnosti gospodarstva, kot tudi za nadaljnjo vzdrževanje kakovosti in kvalitete bivanja v Sloveniji. Zeleno gospodarstvo vidimo kot priložnost za rast in krepitev konkurenčnosti, hkrati pa znižuje negativne vplive na okolje, kar je nujno za doseganje ciljev trajnostnega razvoja 2030. Krožno gospodarstvo je tudi priložnost za razvoj novih zelenih tehnologij in storitev za odpiranje zelenih delovnih mest, za bolj učinkovito upravljanje z naravnimi viri, za promocijo in razvoj slovenskega znanja in gospodarstva. Naloge vlade v procesu preoblikovanja družbe v krožno gospodarstvo vidimo v vlogi povezovalca in promotorja preoblikovanja, vzpostavljanju stimulativnih pogojev za prehod v krožno gospodarstvo, v povezovanju politik in ukrepov, prilagajanju zakonodajnih okvirov in odpravljanju različnih administrativnih ovir, ki preprečujejo uspešen prehod. Za učinkovit proces prehoda v krožno gospodarstvo pa je seveda ključno sodelovanje vseh deležnikov, partnersko povezovanje, sprejemanje odgovornosti in pripravljenost, da prav vsak posameznik v naši družbi aktivno prispeva k skupnim rešitvam. Tudi zaradi tega smo oktobra leta 2016 vzpostavili partnerstvo za zeleno gospodarstvo Slovenije, katerega jedro je medresorska skupina 7 državnih sekretarjev pristojnih ministrstev, širše pa partnerstvo povezuje prav vse skupine deležnikov v Sloveniji. Prehod v zeleno in krožno gospodarstvo vidimo kot proces, ki zahteva spremembe družbe na prav vseh področjih, v kulturi, v politikah, proizvodnji, potrošnji in v upravljanju. S partnerstvom za zeleno gospodarstvo zato povezujemo znanje, iščemo rešitve, identificiramo primere dobrih praks kot neprecenljivih virov izkušenj, predvsem pa s partnerstvom vzpostavljamo vertikalno sodelovanje med ravni upravljanja in načrtovanja in horizontalno povezujemo podjetja, znanje, politike in industrije. Zelo pomembno je, da partnerstvo za zeleno gospodarstvo deluje pod pokroviteljstvom in močno politično podporo predsednika vlade dr. Mira Cerarja. Tudi koordiniramo in vodimo ga iz kabineta predsednika vlade, predvsem z namenom zagotavljanja medresorskega sodelovanja vseh pristojnih ministrstev. Veseli nas, da se partnerstvo za zeleno gospodarstvo hitro širi in danes šteje že skoraj 2000 partnerjev iz vseh ključnih področji gospodarstva, regionalnih in lokalnih skupnosti, mest, znanosti, podpornih struktur, nevladnih organizacij in civilne družbe. Zelo pomembno na poti prehoda v krožno gospodarstvo pa je tudi uveljavljanje Slovenije v mednarodnem prostoru, kjer skupaj s partnerji iz tujine hitreje osvajamo znanja in dosegamo sistemske spremembe tudi na globalni ravni. Pri snovanju naših nadaljnih korakov na poti prehoda v krožno gospodarstvo zato sodelujemo z fundacijo Ellen MacArthur, Svetovnim ekonomskim forumom, Evropsko komisijo in številnimi državami po svetu, ki so se podale na pot prehoda v krožno gospodarstvo. Še posebej pomembno za Slovenijo je aktivno sodelovanje pri vzpostavljanju Evropskega pospeševalnika za krožno gospodarstvo v okviru pobude Svetovnega ekonomskega foruma za vzpostavitev globalne platforme za pospeševanje prehoda v krožno gospodarstvo, ki jo bo danes ob zaključku konference podrobneje predstavil tudi predstavnik Svetovnega ekonomskega foruma, gospod Attila Toros. V okviru Evropske unije je Slovenija vključena tudi v partnerstvo za krožno gospodarstvo urbane agende Evropske unije, ki je osredotočeno na vlogo in pomen mest. Mesta so namreč ena ključnih ekosistemov za prehod v krožno gospodarstvo, saj imajo veliko priložnosti uvajanja krožnih modelov na področju upravljanja z viri, ter tudi kot poslovna okolja, kot povezovalci storitev za občane, ter z vplivom na potrošnjo in ravnanje ljudi. Zato mesta smatramo kot ključne partnerje pri prehodu v krožno gospodarstvo. Ponosni smo, da sta v Sloveniji že 2 uspešni krožni mesti, Ljubljana in Maribor, in da sledijo krožnim modelom tudi že mnoga druga mesta in lokalne skupnosti. Ob tem pa je potrebno poudariti, da je v Sloveniji že veliko primerov dobrih praks tudi med podjetji, ki dokazujejo, da se zeleni in krožni gospodarski modeli, da so gospodarsko uspešni in da so tudi pomemben vir informacij in znanj, kje in kako je potrebno in možno kaj spremeniti. Slovenija je na področju trajnostnega in zelenega razvoja v zadnjih letih dosegla pomembne uspehe. V letu 2016 je naša prestolnica Ljubljana osvojila naziv Evropske zelene prestolnice. Slovenija kot država je lani osvojila 5. mesto na svetu po indeksu okoljske uspešnosti EPI in 1. mesto na področju trajnostnega turizma z osvojitvijo naslova prve države na svetu z nazivom zelene destinacije. Kakšni so naši načrti? V partnerstvu za zeleno gospodarstvo bomo do jeseni pripravili zemljevid krožnega gospodarstva Slovenije kot navdih in usmeritev za preoblikovanje slovenskega gospodarstva in družbe v zeleno referenčno državo v digitalni Evropi. Zajemal bo katalog podatkov o nacionalni proizvodnji in porabi ter kroženju surovin in materialov, tudi kritičnih in njihovih nadzemnih zalog. Zajemal bo katalog ustreznih zakonskih in drugih predpisov, katalog znanj in spretnosti, potrebnih za krožno gospodarstvo ter uspešnih slovenskih poslovnih modelov krožnega gospodarstva, oziroma tam, kjer to še ni razvito, opis omejitev in preprek. Zajemal bo tudi katalog priložnosti za širjenje trga in ustvarjanje vrednosti znotraj vrednostnih verig v krožnem gospodarstvu, modele najboljših praks krožnega gospodarstva za optimiziranje potreb podjetij, lokalnih skupnosti, javne uprave in drugih deležnikov. Zajemal bo tudi organizacijsko podporo za izbrane skupine deležnikov za dostop do znanja pri pripravi projektov in s tem tudi finančnih virov za prehod v krožno gospodarstvo. Proces prehoda Slovenije v krožno gospodarstvo razvijamo na socialnih in etičnih temeljih. Uvajamo odprto izobraževanje za krožno gospodarstvo na vseh nivojih z zelenimi delovnimi mesti in socialnim podjetništvom. Na vključevanju metod in tehnologij, znanja v obravnavo okoljskih sistemov ter analizo življenjskega cikla, naprimer pri krožni oskrbi s hrano in izrabi naravnih prednosti, kot sta velika pokritost z gozdom in razpoložljivost z vodnimi viri, kar z aktivnim razvojem habitata prihodnosti predstavlja veliko slovensko konkurenčno prednost. Na vzpostavitvi pogojev in spodbud za tvorjenje mrež krožnega gospodarstva v Sloveniji je že vzpostavljeno strateško razvojno inovacijsko partnerstvo za krožno gospodarstvo, ki združuje že preko 100 podjetij, raziskovalnih inštitucij in drugih deležnikov, potrebnih za učinkovito vzpostavljanje verig vrednosti na vseh nivojih, na nivojih zakonodaje, organiziranosti in učinkovitosti javne uprave, svobodnemu in delujočemu trgu, vrednotah in izobraževanju, znanosti, razvoju, kulturi in turizmu. V Sloveniji na področju krožnega gospodarstva potrebno pozornost posvečamo tudi vzpostavljanju krožnih modelov na naslednjih področjih. Na področjih gradbeništva, obnove elektronskih naprav, na področju avtomobilizma, prehrane, komunale in drugemu kroženju materialnih in snovnih tokov. Razvijamo tudi sodobne infrastrukturne digitalne storitve državne uprave in gospodarstva z vključevanjem znanj uporabnikov s sodobnimi tehnološkimi platformami. V procese upravljanja družbe in gospodarstva uvajamo sodobne tehnologije bločnih verig oziroma blockchain tehnologij ter razvijamo uporabo orodij sistemske tehnike za optimalno načrtovanje in delovanje krožnih sistemov. Naj zaključim. Največji potencial za bolj učinkovito delovanje in doseganje zastavljenih ciljev prehoda v zeleno gospodarstvo je v krepitvi sodelovanja vseh deležnikov v družbi. Izziv pri tem je vzpostaviti zares stvoren, dvosmeren dialog in sodelovanje vseh deležnikov v družbi. Dobre prakse so pri tem najboljši mehanizem za vzpodbujanje drugih deležnikov, za preusmeritev svojega poslovnega delovanja v bolj zelene in krožne modele, so odličen vir znanja in za državo pomoč pri identifikaciji podpornih ukrepov. Kar nekaj pomembnih premikov smo že naredili, dela pa je seveda še veliko. Verjamem, da smo na pravi poti in vas vabim, da se nam na njej pridružite. Vsem skupaj želim uspešno delo ter veliko prijetnega druženja in povezovanja.
Lepa hvala za ta celovit vpogled. Thank you for this overview, and I guess that it was a very nice, warm up for our next speaker, JANEZ Potočnik. Please, Mr. JANEZ Potočnik, can you join us? Our former commissioner and partner of SystemiQ. And what we are particularly proud of, he's also the president of the advisory board of Circular Change. So Janez, thank you very much for being with us. He has a temperature, he should be in bed, but he's with us. So thank you, and we keep fingers crossed that you will make it as always. Thank you, Janez.
Just one reason more to make us even more warm. Dobar dan vsem skupaj. Good morning to everybody, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I will try that after half an hour, everybody in the room will be convinced why this is absolutely necessary. What are the reasons? What are the obstacles? Why we have major opportunity, and if we miss it, where we will basically land. So, as Ladeja already mentioned at the beginning, it is about system change. And the structure of my presentation will be, first, I will try to explain you the world we live in and the challenges we are facing, then economic model driving our lives, the role of the circular economy, and finally the leadership, governance, and the role of European Union in that context. But let us start with the world in which we live and the challenges we are facing. The 20th century is some are calling it the century of the great acceleration. By the way, I would like to explain one thing more. Whenever you will see on the left side this sign and on the right side this sign, it means that this is work on this is presented on the basis of research work which is done by International Resource Panel. This is UN-based institution like International Panel for Climate Change, which I'm currently chairing on the global level. So the population growth in the 20th century was 3.7 times. Annual extraction of construction materials grew by a factor of 34, ores and minerals by a factor of 27, fossil fuels by a factor of 12, biomass by a factor of 3.6. Total average material extraction grew by a factor of 8, and greenhouse gas emissions grew by a factor of 13, sorry. As a consequence, we landed up in a world which currently looks like that. This is the work of the Stockholm Resilience Institute, in which they have exploited and analyzed 9 planetary boundaries and found out that in 2 of the areas, we are already beyond the zone of uncertainty in the high risk. That's how we are managing nutrients, phosphorus and nitrogen, and in the area of biodiversity loss. And in 2 areas, we are in the zone of uncertainty, increasing risk, that's in the land system change and in the climate change. If you think thoroughly, all 4 areas are directly connected to the way we produce our food. So in the future, it will be a lot about how we will handle the food systems, how actually sustainable the world will be. Let us now go to the 21st century. We all got used to the figure 9.7 billion at the mid of the century. Let me translate that figure that you will understand what we are talking about. In 1 generation, you will have on the planet additionally 2.5 billion people. Overall amount of population 100 years ago was 1.4 billion. In 1 year, you have additional Germany on the planet. In 4 years, additional United States of America. In 9 days and 6 hours, Slovenia. So that's how quick it goes. And everything that is happening in the developing part of the world, which means that, rightly so, they are growing faster, catching up with us, but that means additional enormous pressure from the people who will move to the middle class consumption in the next decades. Then let us look to the social story. Oxfam reports 62 people own the same as half of the world, and the richest 1%, it's more wealthy than the rest of the world. Difficult to say that this is sustainable. Nearly 800 million people are hungry. Over 2 billion suffer from micronutrient deficiencies, while over 2 billion people are obese. Less than half of population on the globe is actually, if I can say so, normal. We throw away 1/3 of the food we produce. Environmental story. We have an increasing evidence of climate change threat. 60% of ecosystems are already degraded or used unsustainably. 1/3 of soils, it's moderately to highly degraded due to various reasons. And we have in Europe 467, according to estimates, thousands premature deaths yearly due to the air pollution, globally 7 million people. That is approximately 15 times more than a premature death in the car accidents. Urbanization, more than 50% of urban fabric expected to exist by 2050 still needs to be built. It is estimated that between 2000 and 2030, developing countries would have added 400,000 square kilometers of built-up urban area, which equals to the world's built-up area in the year 2000. And this is fascinating. In the 3 years, 2011-13, China has used more cement than the United States in the whole 20th century when they were building US. Nearly half of the work we do will be able to be automated by the year 2055. It's the data which was revealed in the World Economic Forum. And this is the last thing which is enormously important. For the first time in human history, we face the emergence of a single, tightly coupled human socio-ecological system of planetary scope. We are more interconnected and interdependent than ever, which is increasing our individual and collective responsibility comparing to just one generation ago enormously. To summarize, this was published 2 years ago in Synchronous Failure, the Emerging Casual Architecture of Global Crisis by many of authors. In a world where external reserves of resources are limited and second chances are thus increasingly rare, humankind must develop the ability to proactively navigate away from this new kind of crisis, globally extensive and intersystemic, that could otherwise irreversibly degrade the biophysical and economic basis for human prosperity. Let me now go to the economic model in which we are living. First, in this graph, which is very nice, one can explain what is the real problem of our development trajectory. On the horizontal X, you have Human Development Index. On the vertical X, you have environmental footprint. So more developed you are, more right you are. And higher is your environmental footprint, higher you are. The dots are the countries from the world. And the dots surrounded red are European Union countries. We are practically all pretty high and pretty right. The green corner on the right contains all the countries on the world where people are living well within the planetary boundaries. 0. The reason is that all the countries in development goes not straight right, but up and right, increasing the footprint. And when we find out that we are in troubles, we start to go down. So the real essence of the solution of the problem lies in developed part of the world. We need to show that we are able and ready to move down. We are those who master technologies. We are those who master knowledge. By the way, our way, the way we are producing and consuming, cannot be repeated on those countries physically. It's impossible. It's theoretically impossible. So it's bound that we show that we can collectively change and that they can leapfrog. Herman Daly has he's one of the authors of the thinking, which is a bit different. He wrote down the optimal scale of macroeconomy relative to its containing ecosystem. It's the critical issue to which the macroeconomics has been blind. This blindness to the cost of growth in scale is largely a consequence of ignoring throughput and has led to the problem of ecological unsustainability. What is throughput? It's entropic physical flow from nature's sources through the economy and back to the nature's sinks. And this should not be declining, or in other words, natural capital should not be declining. Bringing the concept of throughput into the foundations of economic theory does not reduce economics to physics, but it does force the recognition of the constraints of physical law on economics. Italian ambassador already mentioned the work of the Club of Rome. Not that they will write in all the things, But in essence, in many things, they were right, even if the timing didn't happen as they have envisaged. What does that mean, what I was explaining to you? I was 5 years as Environment Commissioner fighting that environment would be jointly recognized in 3 pillars: economic, social, and environmental. In essence, this is wrong. It should be like that. We should, as humans, behave and respect the limits which are given to us by the ecosystems which we have. So that's a bit more complex, the same thing which was done by European Environment Agency, so energy system, food system, mobility system, policy, industry, values, technology, science, market, socio-technical systems within the ecosystems. Another quote from Dilly: how do we know that throughput growth or even the GDP growth is not at the margin increasing yield faster than wealth, making us poorer than richer? That's probably the most important story of the economy. It's called, in economic theory, externalities. Externalities are about costs which are existing, but we deny them. We say they are not existing. We rather shift them either to our health, either to the farmer who has less product, either, which we are most happy, to the next generations because they cannot complain. Here on the top you have the profit in selected sectors if you do not count the costs connected to the natural capital. And here you have the profit of those if you count together with natural capital costs. So many of the sectors today would be in red, actually, and they are still living in profit due to the bare fact that this is not fact of life. I've heard many times that whatever I was proposing, it was a kind of new cost for the economy. Why? Because we think that those costs are not existing. But in essence, those costs are existing. As I said, we are just not admitting that they are there. So there are 4 things which I would like that you would remember. Growth can be good or bad growth, and we actually don't know how much of the growth in the past was good growth. Second, we normally, all the political world is concentrated on GDP growth rates, not on the levels. But what is important for your life, really, is the level, not the rate. I will ask you a simple question. Would you prefer to be somebody who earns 100 euros and it's growing 10%, or somebody who earns 1,000 euros and it's growing 1%? In both cases, you have 10 euros additionally in your pocket at the end of the year. But when you go to the shop, you can't buy with growth rates. So it's extremely important that sometimes we focus rather on the other problems than on the growth story as such. So distribution, at least in the developed part of the world, is probably even more important issue. We all deal majority of the time only with flows, while we don't deal with the stocks, and we do not know how much we are actually indebting ourselves via the whole ecosystem story. And that is, we have a story when it comes to the budgetary deficit. We have in Europe strict rules which are saying if you cross 3%, then the whole procedure starts, and then the country is punished. We have seen nice examples in Europe how this works. If we are indebting in the context of taking the stock from the future generations, are we punished? Not. We are rewarded by higher profit. And we are running in that way. And that's basically how the economy currently runs. And just remember that 10% growth is doubling of everything in 7 years, or put it in other words, growing 7%, it's doubling of everything in 10 years. So in the mid-term, except in specific cases, resource shortage will not be the core limiting factor of our economic development, but the environmental consequences caused by the excessive and irresponsible use of resources will be. One slide is actually missing. We are living in a world where we have overvaluated financial capital, undervaluated labor capital, and not valuated in many cases natural capital at all. We are sending those signals into our markets where price quantity, of course, works, where us, consumers and producers, act rationally, and then we are surprised that we are living in a world which is in economic, social, and environmental imbalance. So this is the theory which we are defending in International Resource Panel. Human well-being can grow faster than economic activity, but economic activity should grow faster than the resource use. So resources maybe can still grow, but slower than the economic activity. That means that a relative decoupling of growth happened, but if the resource use is lower, which should be the case for the developed part of the world, while the economic activity is still positive, we call it absolute decoupling. But both resources and economic activity should decouple from environmental impact, which is called impact or environmental decoupling, if you would wish so. So when we are talking about sustainable, inclusive, equitable, low carbon, circular, green, resource efficient, and so on, and I can continue, what we actually talk about. We talk about that new economic model based on sustainable consumption and production, integrating all pillars of sustainability is necessary and unavoidable, and that we simply have to fix a broken compass. Let me now tell you very shortly about the role of the circular economy. This is the famous Ellen MacArthur butterfly. On the left side, you have biotic resources. On the right side, you have abiotic resources. I'm currently dealing a lot how to strengthen the left wing of the butterfly, how to produce some of the things in a way that you replace some abiotic with biotic materials. But what is more important is that you understand circular economy in a way that this is an economy in which we try to keep resources as long as possible in the production and consumption cycle and keep their value high as possible. So recycle, which you have heard today already many times, it's the worst of the best. Before that, there are many other things, like collection, maintaining, prolonging life, reusing, redistributing, refurbishing, remanufacturing. You can do it by designing the product in a different way. You can do it by designing the production system in a different way. You can do it by trying to influence on the consumption habits of the citizens. You can do it by introducing new business models. There is no clear recipe which would work in one environment. Each one has to define what works best in his environment. I'm also working with SystemiQ. We have done analysis when we compared the current system with the future circular system, and the results are pretty simple. Green, it's circular. This is current economic system. Household disposable income increases, GDP increases, costs per household decrease, social costs decrease, CO2 emissions decrease, and primary material consumption decreases. So macroeconomic story, it's pretty straightforward and simple. We have also identified major investment opportunities in circular economy in the next, till 2025 actually, it is in the midterm, where we identified 3 sectors in mobility, 4 sectors in food, and 3 sectors in built environment. We estimated also investments which are needed, and these are the examples which are also existing. This is just if somebody of you would like to go more in depth into those questions. So speed of transition depends on the creation of knowledge, on the incentives to innovation, on product design, on consumers' behavior, on business model sharing, moving from products to services, and so on. So some are saying that I'm actually selling the gloom and doom to the world. But let us look. By the way, I lived in 2 commissions where our major narrative was growth and jobs. The narrative of this commission is jobs and growth. So if they are serious about changing the order, that's already a good sign, but we are still connecting the both together. But let us look to the growth rates with the classical economic system in Europe in the last 5 decades. 60s, 5.4, 70s, 3.8, 80s, 3.1, 90s, 2.3, first decade of this century, 1.4, and we are currently approximately 0.9 in this decade. Is this a success of the policies in the past? So who is actually selling gloom and doom? Because what I'm talking about is, in essence, the new opportunities of new innovation cycle which we should focus on. So any global transition, it's a major new opportunity for the innovation, new development opportunities, new jobs, and alternative. Frankly, I would rather not think and talk about it because it's gloom and doom. Finally, about the leadership and the governance and the role of the European Union. This is a bit untraditional chapter belonging here. Why I will talk about it? Because I personally believe that if there is no leadership and no right governance, you can just dream. So I will present you 4 quotations from people whom I believe that they have best captured in which situation we are currently. This is from The Dawn of the System Leadership by 3 authors. We face a host of systemic challenges beyond the reach of existing institutions and their hierarchical authority structures. Problems like climate change, destructions of ecosystems, growing scarcity of water, youth unemployment, immediate poverty and inequality require unprecedented collaboration among different organizations, sectors, even countries. We are the beginning of the beginning. How to catalyze and guide systemic change at a scale commensurate with the scale of problems we face and all of us see but dimly. Second, Mr. Harari, at least liberals, are waking from the long dream. The fact that Western elites are waking from their dream of the end of the history may actually increase our chances of confronting global problems successfully. Part of that dream was the notion that these elites know best what is good for the humanity. The coming years might well be characterized by intense soul-searching and by attempts to formulate new social and political visions. Next, from Mr. Mumford, what is needed is reconstruction of both our science and our techniques in such a fashion as to insert the rejected parts of the human personality at every stage of the process. This means gladly sacrificing mere quantity in order to restore qualitative choice, shifting the seat of authority from the mechanical collective to the human personality and the autonomous group, favoring variety and ecological complexity instead of stressing undue uniformity and standardization. And finally, this is from Stephen Hawking a year ago. It was based on the response to Brexit and elections in the United States. This was a cry of anger of people who felt they had been abandoned by their leaders. What matters now, far more than choices made by these 2 electorates, is how the elites react. Should we in turn reject these votes as outpourings of crude populism that fail to take account of the facts and attempt to circumvent or circumscribe the choices that they have represent? This would be a terrible mistake. The concerns underlying these votes about the economic consequences of globalization and accelerating technological change are absolutely understandable. We are living in a world of widening, not diminishing, financial inequality in which many people can see not just their standard of living, but their ability to earn a living at all disappearing. So what you need to be a leader is first, helping people see the larger system and build a shared understanding of complex problems. Second, fostering reflection and more generative conversations. And last, shifting the collective focus from a reactive problem solving to co-creating the future. One thing which, this is one slide about the governance, which it's also extremely important. It is based on the TED talk of Marco Steinberg. Governments should be structured around the problems. Currently, they are not structured around the problems. Transport minister cannot solve the mobility problem. Agricultural minister cannot solve the food system problem. They are structured right sectors, and we are still living in silos times. And integration of that, we are trying many times, but it's pretty naturally that all of us in public administration are defending our part of importance in that structure. Second, we need to move policy from innovative parts to innovative wholes. Many innovative parts do not create innovative wholes, and no one in the government is looking at the big picture. I've been enough time at national and also European government that I can say that this is absolute true. Third, administrative endeavor should be changed to a creative endeavor. Danger of administrative approach is that you are improving wrong solutions to ideal stage. And this is many times in public administration happening. Embedding a new capability, engaging everybody and the ownership. We have to replace the complainants box with ideas box. We should aim at impossible projects and force ourselves to rethink the principles. In short, we need a new structure, a new logic, a new culture, a new social contract. Global, why I'm mentioning now SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, because this is for the first time a real global leadership, if we will deliver. And in that context, we have to understand that sustainable consumption and production is the most efficient strategy to avoid trade-offs and create synergies to resolve the development and environmental challenges articulated in the SDGs. So, focus on sustainable consumption and production. If we will not change economic system, we can dream about the rest. It's no way. So implementation of the SDGs, in Europe we called that before societal challenges, should be through defining research and implementation agenda, monitoring delivery, and at the end, connecting that to the innovation business case, which is to a large extent connecting it also to the circular economy story. European Union, where are we currently? Despite some remarkable steps forward and resilience, which would be unthinkable before the storm struck, none of the complex and interlinked crises that have buffeted the Union have been structurally resolved, and EU and its member states are suffering from the collateral damage caused by the poly crisis. These are all the crises with which we are currently in Europe dealing. But whenever one would be in doubt, is cooperating and sticking together in the European Union worth of our efforts, then always go back to the basics. And the basics is this. From the 16th century, in black, the areas of time when there were major conflicts among original EU member states, and in white when they were not. And here it's when European Union started to function. Why I'm mentioning actually that? Because from the point of view of global governance, what we have achieved in Europe we should absolutely be proud of. We are the only part of the world where 28 countries have voluntarily decided to give up some of our responsibilities to join it on higher level so that we manage bigger problems like the war and peace. By the way, the world is currently standing pretty much on the same crossroad. Either we will join to govern it together because we are so interconnected globally. At the end of the day, it's about conflicts and war and peace. And I hope we understand that. And the circular economy is the way how to keep the overall economic system bearable in the so quickly growing population and expanding middle class. To conclude, main points I would like you to remember. For the first time in the human history, we face emergence of a single, tightly coupled human, social, ecological system of planetary scope. It is about system change. Without leadership and improved global governance, SDGs are only a wishful thinking. Transition to a new economic model, integrating all pillars of sustainability, should be in the center of our attention. Trade-offs among various SDGs are unavoidable, but sustainable consumption and production is the most efficient strategy to avoid them and create synergies. Proper valuation of natural capital is essential part of the transition, and circular economy, it's a good concept to operationalize it in practice. Implementing SDGs, taking into account specific national circumstances and competitive advantages, should be priority of the government, defined in the strategic document, supported by indicators, monitoring, reporting, linked to the core economic policy decisions. All economic policies should be systematically adjusted. Synergies among climate change and resource management, circular economy, should be exploited. All levels, global, European, national, local, and all stakeholders, public, private, financial sector, civil society, academia, should actively participate in the system change. Active dialogue with potential losers is necessary to make the transition possible. If we are to avoid globally extensive and intersystemic crises and frequent conflicts, then let's get serious about implementing what we have agreed in SDGs. Changes are unavoidable, and humans are supposed to be intelligent, and it is high time to prove it. We should refocus our policy attention from addressing consequences, migration, security, to addressing resources, leading to them, economic model, social, environmental imbalances. Europe should stay in the lead. European Union is the best global governance pilot, an enormous wealth of good and bad examples in practice, but there is a need for a clear vision and leadership which is currently lacking. Will it be easy? When Albert Einstein was asked why it is that mankind has stretched so far as to discover the structure of the atom, but we have not been able to devise the political means to keep the atom from destroying us, he replied, "That is simple, my friend. It is because politics is more difficult than physics." And the last, transparency. I have heard from many people that this is a very nice long-term story, but we should focus on the things which are currently bothering us. And my reply to them would be, the future has already arrived, and it is called present. Thank you.
Janez, thank you very much. Thank you. I think that this applause tells you how important it was and how we need messages that you are bringing all across the world. And we are really privileged that here in Slovenia, in Maribor, we have heard what our representative, the Slovenian Janez Potočnik, is sharing globally. So let's be proud of our Slovenians who are doing this, and we have them here in this country. Therefore, we are also rich. Thank you once again, Janez. So we've got a very nice message that the future is here and the change makers are here as well. So I would like to invite our next speaker, Giulio Bonazzi, the CEO of Aquafil, who is changing the business models and who is changing the culture around the globe as well with his role within the company. Thank you.
Well, good morning to everybody. I'm very happy to be here, and I thank you really for giving me the opportunity to share our experience with you. First, I want to make one confession. After assisting the presentation of Mr. Potočnik, I would like to change everything in mine. It is a little too late. I will try to readjust it. Maybe, if possible, I would like also to structure it in a way to leave some time for discussion. You know, I would really love if you could ask me questions. If you don't, I will send also some proposals to the people here in the room, hoping that I will not make them angry or, let's say, unsatisfied. because I want to be here also the next year, you know, so I must not hurt anybody. So having said this, I want to say this before starting my presentation. We have, for at least our industry, the plastic industry, the fiber industry, for the application that can be served by our material, we have a solution. And this is not said because I want to greenwash myself or I want to sell something which is not true. I am ready to open up, to welcome specialists, to welcome experts of the European Union, of this beautiful country, also of our industry, to demonstrate that it is possible to change, it is possible to have, I repeat, at least in this industry, a material which is better than others, which is helping first to reduce, because before reusing, I think that the first thing is to reduce. So not only the weight of the people, you know, because I am always on diet and I'm never able to fix my weight within the proper limits. But first, we have to reduce. Second, we have to reuse. Third, we have to recycle. So, of course, we embrace this concept in Aquafil. And I say, where everything started and why is this started? You know, my company was born 50 years ago in a special part of Europe, which is Italy. Italy, as you know, is a beautiful country, just as Slovenia is. But not only, we were born in a special province, which is Trento, and Trento is a special enclave within the political Italian system, because it's an autonomous province. So we can fix a limit, for example, on emissions. Not only they fixed very strict limits on emissions, but they also control. You know, sometimes we in Italy, we are famous because we say speed ticketing 1,000 euro, but then if they don't control, you know, people after being scared for a couple of weeks, they start driving faster than before. You know, now for using telephone during driving, they say, I will withdraw your driving license. Yes, but if you don't control, people after 2 weeks, they will restart using telephone while driving. Well, in Trento, they control. My company is also located 3 kilometers from Lake Garda, which is the largest lake and the largest water reserve of my country. So very, very important. And the river entering in the lake is passing by my fence. So as you can understand, if I do something wrong, they jail me. And they are right to jail me. I'm not saying that they should be wrong, you know. So clearly, in the past, this, for my father, was representing an obstacle to our competitiveness, because we were forced to have higher cost than our competitors in China, in India, in Bangladesh, in Vietnam, or wherever else. In reality, this has created to us a different culture and better technologies to face the future of our life. But not only Italy, Slovenia. Well, for me, this is my second country. For those who know me, you know that I have lived here with my family, mid-90s. It was an incredible experience. I learned a lot from this country. And believe me that I always make good publicity of the country, because really here the culture of sustainability has a long tradition. It started much earlier than in many other countries. You know, I like to speak about garbage collection and separation. You know, that when I was here in 1995, this was already very well developed. In Italy, zero. So today, of course, we catched up and we are proud of what we have done. I mean, but at that time, Slovenia was already a very advanced country, and also very social, because, you know, the first week I was here, we went to the municipality of Ljubljana. We got our cans. And, you know, of course, on top of the cans, we had also plastic bags, because, you know, the garbage was more. And strangely, they were not collecting the bags. And then after 3 weeks, my neighbor in Slovene, and we were not speaking Slovene, tried to explain to us, no, dear Giulio, this is the size, this is the amount that you are allowed to produce. You can be richer, doesn't matter, but or better, if you are richer, you have to spend your money and your intelligence in order to be better than the other, you know. So this is also something which I really liked, I learned a lot. But nevertheless, also in Slovenia, we are based in Ljubljana, we are very close to the downtown of this beautiful place. On the other side of the street, there is the famous BTC, which is also another great example of sustainability. I tell you, I go all over the world, but I've never seen a shopping center collecting 17 different streams of garbage in order to facilitate collection, recovery, and recycling of material. I mean, it's and we share a project also with them. And so for us, it was a must, you know, because of course, if we didn't do right, we would have been shut down or closed, or even worse, punished through, you know, jailing or even hard things. We are a small multinational company, as they say, roughly 500 million euros of consolidated turnover, as the ambassador of Italy said before, working in 3 continents, 8 different countries. Slovenia is, together with Italy, our largest base, and in Ljubljana we have our largest operation and also our Econi regeneration plant. We produce fibers, as I said before. I shut it down. What happened? This case was me, not the technicalities, you know. Okay, we produce fibers. You know, I was able to destroy all the technical system. Thank you. We produce fibers also, for example, for the carpet that you are walking on, as well as also for the apparel. Okay, now we go back. Well, some years ago, we started to realize that if we didn't change, rather sooner than later, we would have been in trouble because of scarcity of raw materials, because of growing cost of raw materials, but I think especially because in the future, consumers will pay more and more attention to what they are buying. So they don't want to feel guilty when they are buying a product, and they would like to know that this product, at the end of its life, is not going to be landfilled, but is maybe returning back and create value, you know. So because of that, I like to call landfills my gold mines, but I must also say that in a theoretical, perfect circular economical model, landfills should not exist. You know, so I love the idea of the technology to separate, let's say, the fraction of garbage, but I rather prefer the idea of avoiding to have the garbage and to avoid to put all the products together, because this is adding cost. And when costs are growing, it is difficult to make recycling competitive. Try to consider this. When oil was $120 a barrel, my raw materials had a cost. Now the dollar is $50 a barrel, my raw material had a much lower cost. And as the mayor of Maribor knows, when he is separating garbage and trying to make money out of the reselling of the fractions that are going to be recycled, the value of these fractions today are much lower than 5 years ago. So I am a great sponsor of high oil prices, you know, for example, and high raw material prices, because these are going to help recycling industry. But you know, we realized that if we didn't change, sooner or later we would have gone out of business. So we said, why don't we completely change our way of thinking? And we think that the change is a way to be more competitive, is a way to grow, is a way to assure that doing the right thing, we are able to resolve a problem, to make the people working for us happy, and to have better habits of consumers at the end. Of course, this is not easy because, as I said before, we are a company producing fiber, so our raw materials are coming from oil, and we use a lot of energy. So You know, of course, we are not, how can I say, theoretically representing the state of the art of a sustainable company. But nevertheless, we realized that inside our raw materials there was a magic that I didn't discover actually. So it was not Aquafil to discover it, but it was, you know, in the chemical characteristics of our raw material. Nevertheless, our route was to start, how can I say, producing or using better energy, to use less energy, to be more efficient. So, you know, to build a gas-fire plant that were using special turbines, irrespectively whether the turbines were more expensive than the conventional ones. We were targeting the one that was having less emissions. You know, we didn't care whether it was more expensive. We spent 1 million euros more at the time, but the turbine was more efficient and really creating much less emissions. Then we started to recover all what was behind, arriving to a very high efficiency of these gas turbines. Then when the Italian state will start, because I mean, we have a great production of biogas, but unfortunately today, because of the legislation, it's not yet possible, and I guess also here in Slovenia, to input this biogas in the gas pipe, you know, because if this gas would be in the gas pipe, I would love to pay more for this gas and to use this biogas into my turbine. Of course, it's a mass balance resolution, but it would help to develop those kind of systems. So, just to make another example, in the case of electric energy, wherever and whenever possible, we started to use green certified energy. 100% of our energy here in Slovenia is green, same as in Croatia, say of what we purchase also in Italy. I cut the story short. Only in China for the time being we don't have green certified energy, but it will come because China is investing huge money in green energy production. In the short term they will lead this business. They are already leading the business of solar panels, but they will become the country with largest production of renewable energy. So shortly, apart the energy which we produce, all the energy that we are consuming is coming from renewable, even if it is costing more, you know, because you know it costs a little more. But this, I believe, it is important also because at the end, this is going to be measured by my environmental product declaration that is going to improve. Then we also produce renewable energy whenever possible. Then, as I said before, we started to share our energy platform with our neighbors. We have a project with our neighbor in Italy, in the province of Trento, which is an American multinational company. So out of our gas turbine, we share the heat in order to have a better energy balance. And the same was made thanks to the municipality of Ljubljana, I must say, because here in Slovenia, sometimes small is better than large. You know, when you have small countries, it's easy to go and speak about opportunities and easy also to get answers. You know, that's also the fortune of being in an autonomous province in Italy. You know, so thanks to the municipality of Ljubljana, we had the chance to share the energy which we couldn't reuse internally in our plant with our neighbor, the BTC. Here you can see the work, because of course we had to stop and to make some road construction and to build the pipings. And it was a loss for the municipality because the local power station lost partly a customer, you know, but in this way we were saving more than 400,000 tons of CO2 emissions per year. And so the municipality of Ljubljana and the mayor of Ljubljana was really keen and open to say, okay, this is good for the environment. It is true that we lose an income, but we will have a better environment. It's not easy. So as Mr. Einstein was saying, to take political decision actually sometimes is more difficult than economical one. But this is also very important. But what is the magic of our system and where it comes from? You know, it is not that one day I was sleeping and I dream that my raw material, which is nylon 6, can work in a closed loop and can be recycled forever in an upcycling way. Actually, this is part of the chemistry of the material. And this process was used already decades ago. It simply failed to be used with post-consumer waste. So our, let's say, invention, in this case, not innovation, because I mean, this is a real invention, was to be able to apply this special technology that was invented 50 or 60 years ago, recovering post-consumer waste and avoiding at this point that carpets like the one that you are walking on, or garments, or other terrible end-of-use products like fishnets that are lost and abandoned in the seas and creating huge problems, instead of being lost, are recovered, transported here in Slovenia, and reconverted into virgin raw material, you know. But this is part of a process that started using better the water system inside the company, working in closed loop with all the water of the company, because of course oil is important, but water, in my opinion, is even more important. So the less water we use, the better it is. Again, sometimes even if the process was a little more expensive than to recover all our pre-consumer waste, you know, because before post-consumer waste, it is much easier to use pre-consumer waste. Then we started to recover it. Finally, arriving in 2011 with the startup of our ECONYL regeneration system. The ECONYL plant has costed a lot of money to my company, has been a big research project made by a team of engineers and PhDs of 5 different countries belonging to my group, involving several universities and research centers. And also, I must say, we have been very lucky, because sometimes we were not aware of what we were going to face, because if we had known, maybe we would have not started this incredible journey. Okay? But this has changed a system, because nylon 6 is not only recyclable like we are normally used to. I'm lucky today, because normally in this kind of conferences there are always there are no plastic bottles. In this case, it's easy to explain to you why to recycle our material is more challenging. This is polyester. This is polyethylene. This label can be polyester or polyethylene. I don't understand why it is not polyester. As well, I don't understand why the cork is not polyester. Why am I saying this? Because if it is 100% polyester, you take it, you wash it, and you recycle it. You know? How do you recycle this bottle? You remelt it. Remelting is good. I'm not saying, not criticizing that remelting is a bad thing. But whenever you remelt a plastic, little or much, you downgrade the mechanical performances of the plastic, and you risk to concentrate chemicals that are inside. Because here it is not pure polyester, there are other chemicals inside. So whenever you remelt it, you add another small amount of chemicals, so you concentrate the chemicals, and you risk the risk that the chemicals are going into the water and in our organism are higher than before. And I guess that nobody of you would like to know that inside this bottle there is antimonium. What is antimonium? It's a cancerogenic raw material considered by the European Union. In fractions, okay, but if you can avoid also to drink fractions of a cancerogenic material, I'm sure that you would love it, you know. So we don't remelt our plastic. What we do is to depolymerize our plastic. So our plastic, our nylon 6 plastic, is possible to be taken back to its previous chemical stage. What does this mean? We return to the original molecule, so from the polymer, we disaggregate the polymer into the monomer. Then, with a special technology which is part of our intellectual property, without the usage of any solvent, we purify the monomer, and we can reproduce a perfectly 100% pure polymer as the one which is coming from oil derivatives. So this means without any limitation of usage. It means that if I have a colored carpet like the one that you have over there, I can make a white yarn or a lighter color one, or the yarn of a fishnet, or of a beautiful lady's stocking, as well as of bras or swimwear or whatever you like. and vice versa. From a fishnet, I can make carpet yarns and so on and so forth. So I don't spend hours explaining what is possible to do. And this is theoretically possible to do an unlimited number of times without any degradation of the mechanical performances. Thank you. So she remembers to me that I am not leaving time for the discussion. So I will try to cut this and to go a little faster. So as you see, we have our raw material storage, which is partly in Aidostina, partly in Ljubljana, and partly in Krain, which my people call AKS, any kind of sheet, you know, because inside you can import, and you can imagine how easy it is to import garbage from outside of Europe, inside Europe. Normally, Europe is exporting garbage if possible, you know. Bureaucracy, of course, is sometimes not helping, but we are transforming all these, under brackets, garbages into beautiful products. You know, we produce yarns, so the bobbins are never exciting. I mean, nobody's excited to buy a bobbin of yarn, but here you can see some products. Google Office, Facebook Office, Apple maybe in Mountain View, part of the office, the Pentagon, the European Union Parliament, the Berlin Parliament, just to make some examples. Of course, not by ourselves, but through our customers, because we produce ingredients. And these are beautiful fashion products like Speedo swimwear, Outernon, which is particularly, I mean, in my heart, because it's a startup made by Kelly Slater, who is the most famous surfer all time. You know, like if Valentino Rossi would produce, you know, something for motorbike and would do it together with Aquafil, you know. There are also some nice products like those Tecos socks at the end of the picture. It's a small UK sock manufacturer who has made, this sock is 100% made with Econyl yarn, and he's reorganizing the collection of these socks. It's a marathon socks at the end of its life, and he will send these socks back to us, you know. So, of course, if you don't reuse, you recycle. You reduce, and our material is also so highly performing that we need less to make the same product than other fibers. And the recycling, providing that the designing of the product is correctly made, is competitive with the production of any plastics. So this is why I'm saying that we have a solution. So we need the contribution also of the legislator to help consumption of good products that at the end of their lives are creating values and not creating problems. Thank you. I'm afraid that I spoke too much, so I prefer to skip all the other points of the presentation and wait if you have any question, or if you are tired, I can leave the stage.
Thank you very much. I believe that you are not so tired that you would not have questions, but the time is running out. Therefore, we will take 2 questions only, short, exact, so please go. Who is the bravest? Yeah, we have one.
Hi, Johannes Kisa. I would like to know what you would do with the rest of the sludge you gain during the depolymerization process. So there will be waste, and for what would you use it for?
Thank you for the question, because of course we are able to make nylon 6 out of nylon 6, and unfortunately we don't have pure nylon 6 waste like bottles are. So when we import, for example, a fishnet, we may have inside 50% or 60% at best of nylon 6. So what are we doing with the rest of the material? Once we separate the material, we try to recycle also the other materials. We just deposited a patent last December, so the patent is pending, because in aquaculture nets, I go a little faster because it's, you know, I would need 1 hour to answer to this question. Inside aquaculture nets, there are copper oxide composites that are considered as hazardous by the European Union, and if in weight they are more than 25%, you are not able to transport these waste within European Union, but you can grow fishes inside and you can eat those fishes, you know. So we have been able to separate this material, and now we deposited the patent to regenerate the copper. What do I mean? That our effort is first mechanically to separate the material. So we need designers to engineer better products, considering the end-of-life usage of the material. Once we have separated the streams, whenever possible, we recycle them. What is not nylon 6 remains at the bottom of the depolymerization reactor. This is also why our raw material is clean, so we don't concentrate chemicals inside, differently than remelting. And the bottom of the depolymerization, for the time being, goes to a special incineration or waste-to-energy unit in Vienna, which we consider the best in Europe in terms of environmental performances. Clearly, the effort is to have purer and purer nylon 6 to be depolymerized in a way that we have no rest at the bottom of the depolymerization. But like in nature, at the end, if we cannot reuse or recycle, we try at least to make energy, not to waste all the values that are inside.
Okay, the second question, the short one. Yeah, please.
Short one. Okay, my name is Guido Braam from the Netherlands. Thank you very much for your inspiring story. And I was lucky enough to be guided around your plant in Ljubljana, thanks to Circular Change. It's wonderful to see you as an inspiring, meaningful entrepreneur. So my question would be, what can we do for you to continue your journey towards a more circular company?
Sorry, I lost this because the quality of the sound is here at the stage is very poor.
Okay, I will slow down also. What can we do?
But yes, but who are you in terms of, because you know, I know what the mayor of Maribor can do. If you find nylon 6 plastic waste, please give them to me, you know.
Oh, that's one thing.
I know what the European Commission can do, that is expose prices and tax differently products in order to, how can I say, but okay, sorry.
Oh, go on.
I'm saying, you know, I try to make an example. In California, they wanted to get rid of carpets out of landfills because in US, 3.5% of fraction of landfill materials is represented by carpets, which is a lot, you know. So they say, California is very, very advanced. We put taxes that consumers are going to pay, and the money should return to those who are helping to avoid landfilling of carpets. The result was very poor, you know, between the two of us. But what I like of the system, and we will come soon with a solution, again, with a patent which is going to be deposited just in these weeks here in Slovenia, and we will build a big carpet recycling plant in the United States, because thanks to Econil, we have also the solution to recycle nylon 6 carpets. What I like, for example, is that in the label, you know how it works in US, now that you have the basic price, state taxes, federal taxes, value added. It's also expressed the tax that the consumer is paying for helping to keep the environment clean and free of carpets in the landfill. So I think that we need to create culture in consumers, and to create culture in consumer we need education and we need information. And this is, in my opinion, another tool that we could use in order to help consumers to choose which is the best product in terms of values in order to save valuable raw materials for our planet and for our future.
Thank you. Great message. So thank you very much, Mr. Bonazzi, for being with us. So thank you very much. And now we have to continue with the next chapter of our journey. And Arthur ten Wolde is going to join us as a moderator, and we will find out what the financial sector can do as well. So please, Arthur.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Ladeja and Yuri, for inviting me for this opportunity to speak about the circular economy. My name is Arthur ten Wolde, and I represent here Ecopreneur and Dutch sustainable business called the Groene Zaak in Dutch. Ecopreneur, I'll show on the next slide. So can we go to the next one, please? Can we go to the next slide, please? Point. Oh, I have a pointer, sorry. Let me see. Yes. So Ecopreneur is the European Federation of Sustainable Businesses, founded only 1.5 years ago by the three member organizations below at the top, Unternemens Groene and the other two there. In total, we represent 2,000 sustainable businesses in 7 member states, including Germany, Austria, France, also Hungary. Macarthur is present here, Ecova in Spain, SEA in Belgium, and Groene Zaak in the Netherlands. For the work on the circular economy, we are also supported by large companies on the right, Target from France, also Rockwool from Denmark, Alliander from the Netherlands, and Werner und Merz, a German cradle-to-cradle company, and Interface also in the Netherlands. And now, we have been working on circular economy, especially at the European level and in the member states, and our goal is to accelerate and mainstream a circular economy. These companies are working on that like Aquafil, sometimes for 20 years, sometimes for a few years. They're completely dedicated to change their whole portfolio into circular products and services. And I'll show you in the next slides also what the journey asks for. So first of all, this is business talking. These companies are using business models and they want to change them. Now, it's very important, what are we talking about? Well, we have created this slide to give an impression. It starts with a value proposition. And then it has 4 stages. The first one is value creation, so like design, production, manufacturing, supply, also procurement. The second one is value delivery. This is often forgotten. It's very important to also look at the delivery of a product, or maybe you can even deliver a service online which doesn't even need a product. Then you have the value capture, the use phase, which is crucial, as also the Ellen MacArthur Foundation points out. There's a change from selling a product to have access to it. And then it's still the property of the service provider or the producer. And finally, of course, the value recovery phase, which was missing in the linear model. And you should recover the value, not just the resources, but also the value. Now, we have identified, I think, 26 business models, circular things that you can do and that you can make money out of. In all these stages, you see them there, like circular design, production waste reduction, circular sourcing, cradle to cradle, lean, also online selling or local procurement. In the third phase, you can do sharing platforms like Airbnb, performance-based contracting, pay-per-use, very important, like you sell the light and not the lamps. Maintenance and repair, and only at the final one you see recycling. I want to stress that recycling is the worst circular option. You get to recycling if all the other 25 things have failed. So it's important to shift your mind from recycling and waste to the beginning of creating a service to build a value proposition. So what I'm going to tell you now, very briefly, is based on the experience of these entrepreneurs, these leading sustainable companies. They are successful with circular products and services. They earn good money, and it has many advantages. It generates financial revenues, innovation, new business. It opens up new markets, new clients, new jobs. Also, you get a nicer life as a marketeer for such a company. And in the end, the best employees come to you. But there are 2 main barriers for these companies. One is a lack of demand pull. Because in many cases, a linear product is still cheaper to buy than to, for instance, do pay-per-use for the circular one. And so that is the first barrier for circular companies. And the second one is a lack of transparency throughout the value chain, because in many cases the supplier cannot tell you or does not want to tell you what is in the things that you buy from them. So what we ask, and this is the final slide, what we ask from the government, and some people say to us, you should do something yourself as well as a company, but they're doing everything they can. And so we need help. The first, and we need help also from governments and from businesses all across the world. The first thing is green public procurement, or actually circular public procurement. Discussed that also yesterday here. What we ask for is a massive training program all over Europe. We have one in the Netherlands called the Circular Procurement Academy. And we would like that to be rolled out in all member states to teach municipalities how to do that, because we know how it can be done. And if the municipalities start to buy circular services and products, then you create a market for these products. That's the first thing. So think about what the opportunities could be. Also, it is good for the budget of the municipality. Second, clear price incentives, as also said just by the previous speaker. That's also a main thing. If we want a system change, you need to change the rule of the game. And what we basically want is that the circular products and services become simply cheaper than the linear ones. Then you create a system change. That's a change of the rule of the game. It means that you have to calculate what is the negative impact, the negative cost of this linear product. And then you add that to the price. And on the other hand, if you have a fully circular product or service, you can maybe even give a bonus, a lower price for that. And then you have a few tools, extended producer responsibility. I was glad to hear today that you have such schemes here. From our experience in the Netherlands, I would like to say to the government, please look into this. We only have one scheme per product group. I heard that here there are several schemes per product group, then you get competition. That is not necessary. You can have one scheme. The second thing is create tax incentives. We've recently asked the European Commission to allow member states for VAT differentiation. That means that you have a zero VAT even for circular products and services. But this is currently forbidden by the European Union. So this is a message to the EU: lift that inhibition and make it possible for member states to make the choice. Also, we ask the European Union and governments, also your government, to take the lead in creating a tax shift from labor to resources. Because as Mr. Potočnik said, we are not valuing the right things here. We have too high tax on labor and we have no tax on resources. Change that. Okay. Then finally, this also should include incentives for the uptake of secondary raw materials, because it's not just about recyclability, it's about the actual uptake. This is crucial for our companies. Finally, but this is more at the EU level, we also ask for minimum requirements for eco-design. Every company should be obligated to pay attention to eco-design. So that was the basic message that I had. I have a few questions to you. The first one is that we need your support, because this group of 2,000 companies and the large ones, we do not have sufficient influence at the moment to change the real things that the European Commission is doing. At the highest level of the European Commission, they don't seem to want real system change. They're doing a lot, but it's not about the system. And so we recently published a paper on the website of Ecopreneur. There are brochures lying at the table outside. So go to the website and see if you are a sustainable company or business organization. You are invited to sign a manifesto to the G20. Because the G20, the big states in the world, have a meeting in Germany in July, and we have a manifesto asking for these three things that I just show you: the incentives, the procurement, and the eco-design. So please support us if you have a sustainable business. The second thing is we're also inviting new partners. If you are a sustainable company, please join this group and become actively involved so that we can reach this and make this change really happen. Thank you very much. Okay, and now I would like to make things more interactive and informal, and would like to invite the panel and the active listeners to join me at the stage. Could you come forward, please? Maybe to begin with, we can watch a movie of 1 minute. Is that possible right now? Can we watch a movie? Okay. Sorry about that we have to reverse, but.
Today, a car remains parked for 92% of its lifetime. Offices and workplaces are used less than 50% of their good time. More than 30% of food production is wasted along the supply chain. We can foresee a future where by 2050, global population will grow by more than 2 billion. And in the oceans, there will be more plastic than fishes by volume. We need to redesign existing products and industrial ecosystems, switching to an alternative model that decouples economic development from the exploitation of finite natural resources. Today, thanks to the activities of our Innovation Centre, we are ready to meet the challenges of circular economy, which is a new paradigm for economic and social development, restorative and regenerative by design. Since 2015, we are the only financial services global partner of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the most relevant player promoting the transition towards the circular economy. We're exploring new business applications in collaboration with our partners. Finance plays a key role in supporting investments for the transformation of current linear business models into circular ones by rethinking the approach to risk and value creation. That's why a circular economy for us is a matter of strategic innovation, not just sustainability. This is an amazing collective journey. Welcome on board.
So, good morning everybody. Thanks for the invitation. Authorities, ladies and gentlemen, and circular friends, thanks for inviting Intesa Sanpaolo to this conference. I'm really proud of the Italian champions that have been presenting so far. I just want to briefly tell you why at Intesa Sanpaolo we believe this is a huge responsibility to embrace such a challenge. Intesa Sanpaolo Bank in Slovenia, thanks to the leadership of Mr. Miranda, has been able to establish Intesa Sanpaolo Group as one of the interlocutors of reference for such a transition. As Commissioner Potocnik pointed out, this is a necessity, it's not just an opportunity, just only. I have a privilege. I do work in finance, I do work in a bank, in a financial institution, but I do work about innovation. So I'm not constrained by quarters, earnings, quarter by quarter. We can oversee and look at the future. And what we can share with you today is that basically I would like to talk about risk. Of course, Intesa Sanpaolo is the first financial institution at global level to recognize the importance of circular economy and the importance of thinking systemically about value creation, not just profit maximization or investment and return on the investment. Thanks to the leadership of Ellen MacArthur Foundation and of our friends around the globe, we understand the lesson. The linear economy is killing us. As simple as that. If we do, as a financial institution, want to concentrate on what we need to do before selling credit cards, before selling home loans, we do intermediate trust. If we want to regain trust in the economic and social development of the future, we cannot forget to embrace the circular economy challenge. The context within which we have been operating along the years is coming to an end. The risk in the economy is making financial institutions more fragile. And so in a nutshell, I believe personally, and that's why Intesa Sanpaolo is embracing such a concept, that to foster circular entrepreneurs and foster circular economy in the society would help to de-risk the economy. If as a financial institution I'm able to spot innovation and I'm able to support circular innovators, as a bank, I would decrease my risk profile. So I will be very brief, but those are the numbers that, of course, had been circulating $7,500 billion is just what SystemiQ has been pointed out and what the European Commission has been considering over the last 2 years as the financial investment opportunity. So again, usually I want to be sort of provocative and constructively forget about waste. We are not talking about recycling only. We are talking about investments to be made in a sort of medium term from today to 2025, which will redesign how business and society do work together to create true value. As the video we introduced says, circular economy is a collective action for change. Or we do it collectively, or we don't do it. And so basically, at a financial institution level, we understand that, of course, European Union plays a key role in this, and Intesa Sanpaolo is keen to make sure that our responsibility as a sustainable financial institution is there, open for business, to accommodate the needs and make the transition with entrepreneurs, not just waiting for the projects. Before asking ourselves how risky the circular economy is, this new thing, I've been asking ourselves how risky the linear one is. So those are the investments that Mr. Potočnik was anticipating before. This is what we at Intesa Sanpaolo wanted to develop. It's a very sort of first practical tool. We want to measure the circularity potential of a company. So when we do engage with customers, we try to spot through a questionnaire, weighted questionnaire, what is their vision about circular and how they want to transition to this new system. As you can see, this is basically plotted about the propensity to invest in the circular economy, which basically says from 0 to 1 to us, in a sort of nutshell, those entrepreneurs are ready to take the challenge. Of course, this is a rudimental kind of approach, but it's still proving to us that the conversation with entrepreneurs has not just to be about the next financial product or the next transaction. It's actually about the strategy of the group. Intesa Sanpaolo Bank is open for business, is looking to engage with customers because this is where co-creation will happen. So we don't just want to finance a product. We want to see what we can do together on a collective basis, and the real estate sector could really represent the next level of cooperation among the doers. This is what we have been doing at Italian level with small and medium companies. Of course, we want to enlarge the community. We want to become a financial institution of reference for the circular economy. And we started this journey with a very simple question. Intesa Sanpaolo is among the top sustainable financial institutions globally. The question that we made ourselves is, what does it mean for a financial institution to be such a sustainable financial institution with perhaps so unsustainable clients? That's where the transition from circular started to happen at our organization. We just don't want to become sustainable and wait for managing risk. We want to de-risk the system, and we want to co-create solutions with our customers. I end up there. We want to work with institutions to have a manifesto on circular economy. One proposal that I think at European level we could have is to engage the postal services in each country to become agents of reference for the collection, helping citizens to understand that the recovery of assets or materials could be something done on a daily basis rather than leaving to ecological islands in the cities. And from there, proceed to a new kind of dimension where business and society can redesign what does it mean to create value. Thanks for that, and of course, if we have a conversation, we can go ahead.
Thank you for this very interesting story. What I would like now to do is to make it more informal and more interactive. So I invite you all to think of questions that have to do with the finance and with the system thinking. But first of all, I would like to invite all the panelists and the active listeners to just state their name, their organization, and in one sentence, a very short sentence, what is their main thing, why are they here? So maybe starting with you.
So good morning still. My name is Milan Hrenko. I'm coming from the Slovakia, so it's similar to Slovenia, very often confused. I'm from the Ministry of Environment, where I'm responsible for the directorate that has it's in charge of the environmental policy, EU affairs, and international cooperation. And as such, we are also heading the circular economy activities in Slovakia at the ministry level.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Astrid Mott. I come from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. I work in the Energy Efficiency and Climate Change team. And I came here today, let's say, to present one of the projects that we think are currently more circular within what we do, which is the material marketplace we are implementing in Turkey. And I can quickly give you a brief later maybe on what this is about. And I'm Maya Johannessen from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I work with our Circular Economy 100 program, and more specifically managing our relationships with our governmental members. And I'm also very happy to be here in Slovenia today, also to just better understand the Slovenian context and work with our Slovenian members of the CE100.
Also as an answer to GIULIO BONAZZI, my name is Guido Braam. I am a circular entrepreneur and I'm currently involved in setting up an open innovation hub close to Schiphol Airport of 20,000 square meters, where we try to sort of go from rhetoric to reality in terms of circular economy. I dived into the circular economy 5-6 years ago, set up the organization Circular Economy, Netherlands Circular Hotspot. And now I think the time is there to create a bigger demand in the circular economy, to reward the entrepreneurs and the pioneers with a little bit more turnover so that they can continue with their innovation.
Good morning. My name is Jan Maršák. I'm from the Czech Republic, from the Ministry of the Environment, and because I'm from the Waste Management Department, I would like to speak about the necessary changes in the waste management in the context of circular economy.
Okay, thank you all. So now I would like to make it directly interactive. So is there any question from the audience? Anything you want to share with us, and specifically to one of the panel members? Not enough time yet? Okay, yes, Robert. Please state your name and your question.
Good morning. My name is Robert Droop, Netherlands Ministry of Environment. Thank you for being here. Thank you for posing the question, for inviting us. Economic instruments has often been mentioned, also today, at many stakeholder conferences in Europe. The circular economy business asks for economic instruments and invites the Commission, European level, also for developing proposals. Now, the Commission currently does not feel it to belong to its mandate. But what does the panel think about the importance of economic instruments for influencing the market, about the resistance or the welcoming from the non-converted industry to accept economic instruments, and how do you think is the chance for countries to introduce economic instruments if it does not happen at the European level?
So first of all, I mean, from the foundation side, we of course welcome the use of economic instruments, also from the policy side. I think it, as you point out, it's quite a challenge at the moment, and there's been. We often talk about that needs to be a tax shift, and VAT has to promote the right practices, but there's still a bit of lack of actual practical execution of these ideas. I know Sweden have taken the first small step towards that by making repairs cheaper, so promoting the prolonging life of products. In Europe, you also see a lot of, there's a lot of talk about EPR schemes. I think in theory, the idea is good. You want to create an upstream effect, affecting the design and the design of the products and services. But there, I think there's a need to also still need for innovation to actually make that upstream effect real. I think we had that conversation yesterday as well, is that it's still, you can just, there's no individual responsibility for the company, you just pay into a common pool. And then if someone improves best practices and actually, which is a benefit for all, there's no individual, what do you call, benefit, yeah. So I think that needs to be, in terms of using economic instrument, that needs to still be innovated, and ideally in collaboration with all the relevant stakeholders, including the businesses this will affect.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted also to report the experience we are having in Turkey, which is not part of the European Union, but very much reflects its legislation structure into the European one. And I can confirm that over there as well, we see obviously a less mature legislative framework that would somehow support the companies that want, for example, to start using secondary raw materials. We see very much, let's say, as I said, Turkey trying to replicate the European model, but whenever it comes also, for example, to the opportunity of simplifying administrative procedures related to the introduction of alternative raw materials, it gets very difficult. And companies have reported to us over the past year when we started to implement this secondary raw materials marketplace, that this is one of the main obstacles they are facing. And indeed, over there as well, there is no support at the moment from an economic point of view in using secondary raw materials. So we, from our point of view, at EBRD decided to basically trying to develop a market. So being the market really, being the upcycle of materials, the opportunity for the companies to start using alternative raw materials, meaning if it's cheaper to introduce alternative raw materials as compared to a virgin raw material, why would they not go for it? But clearly to do that, the companies need to have the adequate legislative framework and administrative procedures, which we are trying also to develop together with the platform itself.
Yeah, well, I would like to confirm that in this stage we need to sort of push it a little bit more up the hill before it starts rolling, this circular economy, because we're in the early stage. And often it's frustrating for entrepreneurs to hear the feedback that money is not the issue, everybody says. But I do see a mismatch. For instance, if you look at the European Investment Bank, they are incentivized to invest more in the circular economy. They do know how to invest in renewable energy, but they find it very difficult because the current initiatives are too small for them simply to put a lot of effort in and to understand where they can invest in. So we don't have the structure yet, so how that massive investments from the European side can trickle down to that simple startup or that project that wants to scale up. So I think there you can have that economic incentive and you have to build a new structure, new governance, as mentioned.
I mean, again, money is not an issue. It's only a matter of understanding what entrepreneurs are doing. Of course, a comparison between the competitiveness of used materials and virgin materials usually doesn't take into account what we were talking before, which is about the negative externalities. And so usually consumers tend to go for the cheapest kind of options, just because, of course, we have been not able to pass to them the real cost of what that choice means. And so from a financial standpoint, I believe that education is key, and it sort of passing the message about what circular economy really means is key. And that's why we are investing in a dissemination of culture about circular economy, which is not just about waste. It's about redesign things and redesign how we want to have access to the services that things provide. So this is for us the key message about the culture about circular economy.
Okay, thank you for all those insights. I now would like to turn to speed up the program. Oh, there's a question. Sure.
Sorry, now you will discover why you will not invite me the next year to the summit. I think that the approach is wrong. I try to explain myself. My case, I bring a concrete example. My raw materials are more expensive, but the secondary cost is less expensive. So, because my material is upcyclable, differently than many other materials that are not upcyclable, but are just recyclable in a downgrading way. I try to give you numbers, because I have to arrive to the point, and then I bring one example. If a polymer of polyester costs €1 and a polymer of nylon 6 costs €2, of course, as we said, we use the cheaper one, without considering whether this is good or bad for the environment. But what is the cost of the secondary life of this material if we recover it? This, in my opinion, is the right question. Because in my case, if I'm able to re-give the life to my material 20 times or 30 times, what is the cost of the original raw material? 0. Okay? So this is, in my opinion, something that until now, also because maybe there was not an example like the legislation, even organizations like Ellen MacArthur that are very valuable, but are not supportive in this sense in spreading the idea, the culture of using this raw material. While, for example, cradle-to-cradle people that are of great importance to Ellen MacArthur Foundation, so Bill McDonough and Michael Braungart, in their books, they always say, use nylon 6, because nylon 6 is depolymerizable, So this is very important. I try to make a concrete example. When you make a tire, today you recover, maybe downgrading, but you recover everything of a tire but the fabrics. You know that inside a tire there are fabrics. Why you don't recover those fabrics? Because there are different layers made of different fibers that can be synthetic, can be artificial, like viscose, different type of synthetic fibers because they blend nylon, 666, polyester. This is unrecyclable. And this stream is the only one today at present that goes to incineration to make energy, which is at least less bad than, of course, landfilling. But if you make a tire that is only with nylon 6 fabrics inside, I can recycle those highly amount of nylon 6.
Okay, thank you. I think I heard some kind of question, but I also heard you say, I think the approach is wrong. But what I understand from your example, I invite you all to respond, is that this is in agreement with the idea of giving a financial incentive to the product that can be recycled. This should maybe even have a bonus, made cheaper, and the other one, which is linear, can be used only once, should be made more expensive. Do you agree with that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you. So maybe somebody else from the panel wants to respond as well?
Well, just another point that and that's just another point that I heard, as you said, like we need to use monomaterials so you can actually recycle them again. And I was thinking, especially in the plastics, what the foundation is doing is one of the key points that are being raised, that composite materials, they have a lot of amazing abilities in their first life, but they ruin the possibility of having a second life.
Okay. Thank you. Then I would now like to go, we can have more questions in a minute. Just first, I would like to give the active listener, Jan Marschak, the opportunity to speak for a few minutes about his perspective.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. My name is Jan Maršák. I am from the Ministry of the Environment from the Czech Republic. I am responsible for the National Waste Management Strategy, so I would like to speak about the end of the cycle, about the waste management, but we think this end of the cycle is very important, and we see many gaps and many loops at this end. According our analysis and according European Commission recommendation, our main challenge and also our main obstacle for circular economy or making more circular economy in Czech Republic is high level of landfilling of municipal waste. So we are focused on this issue in our strategy, in our waste management plan, which was adopted in 2014 for the next decade. So our first priority for making our waste management more circular is reduction of landfilling of municipal waste. What we have made, we implemented legislative changes in our national law. We have from the 1st of January 2015 obligatory separation of bio-waste from municipalities, and we also implemented the ban of landfilling of recyclable waste since 2024. We think this is important steps towards circular economy, because we think we need to cut or to reduce the landfilling as incompatible with the circular economy. So this is a main message from the Czech Republic. We need to reduce landfilling of waste because landfilling is not in line with the circular economy strategy. What are our other priorities also in negotiation at the European level? Strong support for waste prevention. We need also sustainable recycling, and also we need education and public awareness. So thank you very much.
So then I would like to go back to a lady in the back who stood up with a question. Still there? If not, anybody else with a question from the audience? Yes.
Yeah, Yuri Giacomelli, Giacomelli Media. Thank you very much to everyone. I would actually have two questions. The first one would go back to regulatory measures, being economic, legislative, or any other ones that you could reckon. And I'd like to ask the panelists, to anyone that would like to respond to, come up with examples that in your view and in your respective fields of expertise have performed best so far in terms of changing, improving the legal or the regulatory framework at large in order to encourage the path to circular economy. And the second one would refer to Arthur's introduction. I know he's been doing so much in the field of public procurement, so maybe we can help think a little bit together how we can actually, I mean, how can we remove obstacles, just conceptually? Because I'd really like to know, it happens to us that we talk about public procurement always in the old way, but we know that we have to change that. So where can we start by drafting better public tenders? Yeah, thank you.
So about the legal framework and about public procurement. So who of the panel wants to respond?
Yes, I can, regarding the regulatory framework, I can say that this has been basically the biggest obstacle this year for us to really start off with the platform in Turkey. We have been speaking with more than 150 companies presenting the idea of having a commercial platform where they would be able to basically exchange materials, underutilized materials. We were
basically able to provide technical support to companies as EBRD, free technical support to them, with technical people identifying technological options to be able to implement cases like the Aquafil one, where used fibers can enter into the production phase, but without the involvement of the Ministry of Environment, without the engagement of institutions, none of the companies was ready to jump in and give it a try. So I can tell you that our experience in this specific case and the best practice is really having been able to involve them and setting up a working group, which is what we are trying to do now, where the ministry, where the biggest industrial association in Turkey, where companies, where us are sitting, and really and where the Business Council, which is the main consultancy partner in this project, are sitting and working together to come up with streamlined administrative procedures for the companies to be able to classify materials as basically byproducts and then be able to introduce them into their production process. So I can confirm that this is one of the major obstacles, and the way we are doing it is really talking to institutions and engaging them to make them understand that unless we come up with very practical examples and commercial options for companies, there is no other way to translate all these nice words into practice.
So I would try to address your first question about the legislation. Maybe you know that Slovakia is one of the worst performers in the waste management in the European Union. At the moment, we still landfill about 70% of the waste. So 2 years ago, we basically adopted completely new act on waste that introduced for the first time extended producer responsibility principle. So now we are slowly implementing and getting the number of landfilling down. At the same time, we also heavily invested into the recycling capacities with the help of the fees that we collect in the environmental fund from the biggest polluters, but also, of course, with the help of the structural funds. And at the moment, just basically yesterday, we launched a public discussion with businesses, municipalities, about how to readjust this new act on waste, because we found a couple of obstacles in the implementation in the last 2 years, so we are trying to really address those to make it very efficient. What is the biggest problem at the moment is that the still landfilling tax is very low, so we need to fix the tax system. It's a very difficult process. Of course, there is a strong opposition. So we are also embarking on the information campaigns, so trying to inform and engage the municipalities, businesses, and explain them basically that we are a very small country with limited resources. So for us, it's also in our economic benefits to really reuse and recycle the materials and not to always use the new raw materials.
Anybody else on the procurement? Guido, maybe?
Well, I was still thinking about also the legislation part a little bit, but then perhaps I can do that shortly and then continue with the procurement part. I fully agree with what you just said on having very practical examples and use that, because in the early days in the Netherlands we came and said you have to change law and regulation, and then Ministry of Environment and Infrastructure, Robert Rowe is also from there, said, yeah, but that tell us more precisely what the obstacle is. And then we found out in many cases that you can simply demystify the obstacles, because the problem is not within the legislation, the problem is often by misunderstanding of lack of knowledge. And to give you one example, in real estate you have a thing like fixture, and then it's part of real estate. And if you have products as a service, it's difficult to who has the ownership of that product. So for instance, an elevator in a building. And then it turned out to be that it was not a legislative thing, it was much more a financial thing, because if you have a mortgage, then you want to assure that you have that you have access to of the ownership of that real estate. And with a little bit of help of some lawyers, and in this case from Allen and Overy, we could simply use some lessons learned from a totally different area, and we apply that, and then there was no discussion with the legislation. But to continue a little bit on that, I think in terms of regulation, you have the carrot and the stick, of course, and we discussed shifting
labor, of taxes from labor to resources, for instance. Those are the bigger changes, the systemic changes, often hard to accomplish. And then you have to stick, and as I said, I'm an entrepreneur, so normally I would believe in sort of that they could make the change. But sometimes it is helpful. In the Netherlands, we abandoned the plastic bags. In the beginning, I was laughing about that because I thought that's not the solution in terms of circular economy. But the reality is we don't have any plastic bags anymore. So it can be helpful also to have on the sort of to make sure that the entrepreneurs sometimes do take the next step. Not only the front runners are rewarded, but sometimes also the laggards are incentivized to take that step forward. And that's also the thing that's a nice bridge to circular procurement. As mentioned before, we said that we need to push that circular economy a little bit further to ensure that it rolls by itself. There is this economic rationale behind the circular economy. We all know that. But we also know that if you're pioneering, that sometimes you have to invest a lot and you need a little bit of securance. So having a launching customer, not only so simply a circular procurement trajectory where people were promised that they would buy more circular, but also having a dialogue with a governmental organization about being the first user of, for instance, for new furniture, is something we don't do due to European tenders and all that. And you have something like the dialogue, it is possible. But I think there, if we would be able to create environments where we can test out a little bit more, on a large scale test out stuff a little bit more, that would really be a big incentive for a lot of entrepreneurs that now are sort of investing them simply by themselves. So that would be great.
Can I add a very quick one on the legislation? In Italy, the Italian Minister for the Environment is now working, and it will deliver a position paper of the Italian government on the circular economy. And he was pointing out this very simple concept. By law, you take a door, you dismantle it, you want to use it as a table, you are prevented to do so by the law. It's still the same wood, it's still the same materials. We need to change that, as simple as that. And we are doing that. But just to give an example on how practically circular economy could be prevented if we allow legislation not to understand the natural resources kind of concept that we were anticipating this morning, and actually the reuse concept of assets that we use on a daily basis will be part of legislation effort afterwards, but it's a cultural problem before being a legislative one.
To respond right away, I fully agree that, Max. I was inspired by the story of JANEZ Potocnik about new governance. It would be great if we have something like fast tracks, because we have been discussing about using residual streams not being called waste, so you can sell it on the market again. But it takes 5 years because the distance is too big for that. In this case, it was the water management, the water board in the Netherlands that tried to sort of give phosphorus back for retrieve from water. And it takes 5 years to change the law and regulation there. And everybody agrees it's a good idea. So it is sort of like the bureaucracy. We need faster tracks towards the EU to make that change happen.
Okay, thank you. Now we're now approaching the conclusion of the session. The lunch is also approaching. I would now like to ask Milan Šrenko to give your perspective also.
So thank you. Basically, we are trying to address the circular economy or we understand it as one of the stepping stones on the broad journey towards the green economy. And we are trying to address it from the different perspectives. So at the policy perspective or at the policy level, we are preparing or we are working these days on the new environmental strategy until 2030. That should be our plan for the green economy, so similar to Slovenian. So I'm happy to get some inspiration from the work you have done in Slovenia in the last years. We have also some concrete activities at the policy level. We are working on, or we adopted last year, the Green Public Procurement Action Plan at the governmental level. So this year we are starting the implementation, a lot of information campaigns, mainly for municipalities and other players. And also we are testing the new approaches, something that already works. I know in Netherlands you are quite good in voluntary agreements with businesses, but for the first time in Slovakia we established the voluntary agreement with the big retail chains to basically get rid of the plastic bags, so to go beyond the existing legislation at the moment. In the knowledge base, to really make a change, we need a proper knowledge, so we need robust information. We have established the Institute for Environmental Policy last year. That is basically our analytical body within the Ministry of Environment. So they are doing all the different analyses that we need for the landfilling taxes, for the circular economy, for the resource efficiency. We are also engaging with the cooperation with other institutions. For example, we are working on the resource efficiency strategy or a plan with the OECD that should be published in autumn. And we also realized that we need to get ready for the future challenges. So we are trying to build the capacities at the ministry and in our organizations for the forest side and the scenarios building exercises, as we see it as one of the very good policy tools to really look into the future and expect what's coming up and to be ready. So we established a working group on that. And of course, the information is key. So we are now in the process of building the information platform on the circular economy, where we would like to showcase, similarly as we do here, good examples from Slovakia, but not only from Slovakia, but also from the region around. So Visegrad and Slovenian examples would be, I think, highly relevant for us. And last but not least, we understand the cooperation is extremely important, so to bring the different stakeholders together. During our presidency last year in Bratislava, we organized the transition to green economy, where we managed to bring more than 500 people from 32 countries together to discuss the green economy from the different aspects, including the financial and the investment possibilities. So I'm happy to see colleagues from the EBRD that were also present and from several banks. And of course, for us, it was just the start. So I would say we are maybe 4 months behind Slovenia, as you already started in June. We were in September. But since then, we organized the stakeholder discussions focusing on the businesses and the possibilities to finance the circular economy activities. And maybe I would like to also bring to your attention the conference on the circular economy in the automotive industry. As you probably know, Slovakia is the biggest per capita producers of cars in Europe, so the automotive industry is huge. It takes about 30–40% of our economic output. So we are bringing the people, we are planning to bring about 150 people, 200 people from across the region to discuss the circular economy, and basically from the design phase up to reuse recycling phase. So these are probably the main activities. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Then there is time for one final question, one final answer.
Me. Oh,
you were
hello.
first.
I'm Beatrice Luz. I've been working for a couple of years to accelerate the transition to the circular economy in Brazil. So my question is, I would like to use the reference that JANEZ Potočnik placed on his presentation. It was very interesting to see a graph where he has shown the relationship between development of country development and environmental impact. And he was showing the importance of European countries to really move to the transition to the circular economy in a way to inspire the emerging markets to leapfrog solutions towards circular economy. And this is exactly what has been my thinking around the work that I have been doing. So my question is, how can we act together? We've been talking about cooperation, and I'm here being very inspired by all these European cases and circular economy change makers. How can we work together to bring this inspiration and these solutions and perhaps even financial support to emerging markets to really encourage this shift? Because I remember during Rio+20, one of the big arguments when developed countries were saying, oh, we need to reduce our impact and produce in a different way and consume less. You know, the emerging markets were saying, well, now that we can consume, you're telling us that we have to consume less. You know, we don't want this, in a way. I don't agree with this, but perhaps this could happen in the same way with the circular economy discussion. So how can we work together to really go to the emerging markets? You know, Brazil is going to be, is the 5th consumer market and it's growing, and there's a lot of population, a lot of products are being designed there. So is there anything in the European Union in terms of thinking how to create a platform or potential funding to really bring, you know, the emerging markets closer to this discussion? So that's my question.
That's a good question, and I wish I had the key answer. I can share our experiences and the way we are trying to do it at the moment. So as I mentioned, we have what we call the Circular Economy 100 program, which is a multi-stakeholder platform where we bring together key stakeholders across the economy. We have this at an international level, so we're bringing together stakeholders across the world, but we are now also trying to kind of replicate that model down to more local levels. So we have done that in Brazil as well, so just recently established a Brazilian C100 platform. And hopefully, hopefully the idea is that a lot of the experience and knowledge we gain from the work that we do here in Europe can be somewhat transferred to our work in Brazil. I think it's still quite challenging because, of course, you cannot replicate solutions from one country to another or from one city to another, for that matter. So it still needs to be a very collaborative effort and a lot of openness to also understand the different cultures and needs and opportunities you're working with.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Then I would now like to say a few final words and then close this session. My impression is from this morning that there is a lot of will to move forward, and I'm very glad with that. I think it's a big opportunity, and also the companies I represent think it's a huge opportunity. There are several issues. There are a lot of challenges. They're all over the board, actually, and this is logical because the circular economy expands to the entire economy. And so there is an enormous lot to be done. On the one hand, you heard that in several countries, the waste issue is on top of the agenda. And that is also logical because it's an enormous amount. It's comparatively, it's low-hanging fruit, but it's still very difficult in those countries. And then I was glad to hear support, at least in principle, for the idea to also move on with the incentives and the procurement part to really change the system. And I want to stress that at Ecopreneur we do acknowledge that this is not simple and that a lot has to be done before you can make it work, and the EPR systems are in place, but our companies are actually not all too happy with the existing systems as they are. They want them to be improved and then expanded. And one final thing, it's also still an issue to be solved. What exactly is a circular service or a circular product? And when does it deserve a tax relief or a financial incentive? This question has still to be resolved. Okay, so thank you all very much. And I challenge everyone to do as much as you can to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arthur, for moderating this and for sharing these ideas with us. Thank you all, change makers. So we are looking forward for these ideas to be implemented in Europe, in Brazil, and all around the world. So now is the time for lunch, but not only for lunch, also for networking. So one homework for each of you to exchange your business card with at least one person who is attending this conference. Please, after the lunch, we will check this and then we will continue. Thank you very much.